Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. My name is Ben Errington, and today I am joined by regular co-host, Mr.
Andy Conduit Turner. Hello, Ben. And indeed, everybody. You all right?
Hello to everybody. And also we're joined by a very, very special guest. Leanne Burnam-Richards is a paranormal investigator, a founding member of the UK Paranormal Society, and a horror fanatic. Welcome to the show, Leanne. Hello.
Hello. How are you, Ben
there.
and Andy? You good?
Good.
We're
thank
good.
You. How you
We
doing,
are
Leanne?
good.
Good.
That's quite a list of credentials there.
Yeah.
A founding member of the UK Paranormal Society. That
Yes.
seems like that's pretty intense and kind of terrifying. I'm a bit spooked out.
I've been very excited since Ben told me you were coming on, Leanne, to have a legit paranormal investigator on. You know, for one thing, before you even had said a word, we're actually providing our listeners with a great service because people often ask something strange in your neighborhood. Who are you going to call? Your immediate instincts don't follow it, Ben, because they're fictional. You can't call Ghostbusters.
I think I remember what the phone number is as well.
Yeah.
You should. You need to get on speed dial. If there's anything strange happening in your house. Do you get that? Do you get people calling you up and saying something strange has happened?
We get emails and messages on Facebook, but we'll just guide them to our website because we've got an extensive list of guides to paranormal activity. So
that's good.
Yeah.
I always say this. We've always, all of the time, the guests we get on have got more credentials and experience, life experience in the movies we talk about than us, Andy. Is that fair to say?
I think, Ben, that it takes a special kind of skill to curate all of these different contacts and put them in a semblance of order. So don't do yourself down.
That's true. Admin.
Believe in yourself.
Believe in myself. I do. Leanne, have you been interested in the paranormal for like a long time?
Yeah, like most people involved in the paranormal, they will tell you started since they were a kid. You know, whether it's an interest in like horror films, like me, like my dad would let me watch horror films as a child. So I was probably like 8 or 9 years old. I was watching It, Child's Play, Nightmare on Elm Street, Bad Taste. So I was watching all these films and then, going upstairs to bed. So that was fun. I had my Barbie dolls, and after watching like Child's Play, I was like really gentle with my dolls. I wasn't like bashing them together anymore. I was like, oh, you can sit down there, and if one would fall over, I'd go, oopsie, like, don't kill me. So yeah,
please don't kill me.
So just started kind of, I was like, from all the horror films I was watching, it just kind of like piqued my curiosity, and then I started, seeing paranormal TV shows and Haunted and stuff, and then I was like, wow, people actually do this is pretty cool. And then I joined a local paranormal events company that were putting on events for members of the public, so I got to go to some like cool places around the UK, like 30 East Drive, Dudley Castle, just all over really. And and then back in 2019, Paul, who is the chair of the UK Paranormal Society, approached me and said, I've got this great idea for this paranormal charity. Do you want to be involved? And that's what I've been doing for the past 4 years.
Oh, wow. Oh, 4 years has it been?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, we launched October 2022, but it took 3.5 years to get to the point of launching, because when you have a name like UK Paranormal Society, you have to get permission from the Secretary of State to use society in your group name. Then you have to obviously register as a charity. You had to be, with the Charity Commission, they give you kind of boxes to tick, and understandably, paranormal doesn't come under any of the boxes. So you have to get creative with your language. And it took us about 9 months just to get a response from the Charity Commission for them to say no. And we were like, oh. And then, it just took us a long time, and we had to keep going back, altering our charitable purposes and everything until it came under the criteria. So it took a long time, and then coming up with the logo and everything. So yeah, it took a long time, but we launched about 9 months ago.
Amazing. I mean, super interesting. I want how did you have to change the criteria then? Did you have to say like post dead. I don't know. I can't think.
I can't remember exactly.
Consultancy services for
Yeah.
Post-life consultancy services.
This is just proof of the real life horrors that we all face, yet again, Ben, of getting a business or charity off the ground and all the proper paperwork if you're not fortunate enough to have gone to school with the Prime Minister. That's right. Coming at you again, the government. Yeah, you're useless.
Leave the government alone, will you? They're innocent.
Oh,
Leave
yeah, they try so hard. They're really trying. Pretty are trying. Pretty patient.
Leanne, how do you think like paranormal investigators and the paranormal in general is represented in film? I guess like sort of coming into it and being a film fan first and then getting into it, you can probably look back at how certain things were represented and think that's totally wrong, that's totally ridiculous, that would never happen like this.
Yeah, I think especially in pop culture nowadays, the kind of the key word that seems to be floating around a lot is demon. Everything is demonic, and you know, in real life it's not. You know, demons aren't as commonplace as it's made to look in film and TV shows. So I think as well, like, so people watching paranormal shows and then who are getting their information from paranormal TV shows forget that it's just mainly entertainment. So then if they're sat at home in their little, semi-detached house and they're getting like creaks upstairs and they're like, oh, it's a demon. When actually
it's a three-toed demon up there, I heard it.
Yeah.
Straight to demon.
That's what I mean. Yeah, people are going straight to demons. So
it's like Googling your symptoms of an illness, isn't it? You don't get hay fever, you're straight to stage 100 brain cancer, right? Yeah. Immediately. You go for the worst case scenario.
Yeah. So that's what we've tried to do, is create all these guides to say, if you're experiencing this is what it could be. The normal explanation. We try to give people as much information as possible before they get to the paranormal route of things, so
I suppose you don't want to like scare people as well, do you? Because I guess a lot of people are really susceptible to what anyone would tell them or what an expert would tell them. So
and that's the thing, some people unfortunately in every walk of life, not just the paranormal, some people do exploit people and take advantage of others. So if there is someone who is very susceptible and someone goes into the house and goes, oh, I can get rid of these demons for you, but it's going to cost you £500, what are they going to do if they've got nowhere else to turn, and someone who they think is credible is telling them this? Then they're likely to hand over the money,
especially if they're telling them what the conclusions that they've drawn. And likely you'll meet a lot of people who go, no, nonsense, not, and also I don't know how to make the thing stop. But then if you're saying, yes, I believe you, and for a nominal fee, just my expenses, realistically, I'll get rid of that problem for you and you will have a more peaceful life. You can see why people would immediately buy into people that are agreeing with them.
Yeah definitely.
Interesting. So Leanne, we see a lot of paranormal investigators. Are there any particular egregious examples that you see in films that you're like, absolutely not? Are there any good examples, in fact, that when you have seen in a movie, you go, actually, this is a good representation of investigators?
Oh, that's a good question. Ghostbusters. No, I don't know.
They've used science.
One of them's turned into a dog statue. That happens all the time. That's always happening.
That's not jumping to conclusions, isn't it? Like, wow, this happened. Right, it's a classic Bagul. Don't move house.
I don't know, actually. I haven't seen many paranormal films which I guess would show the legitimate investigators, because it would be so boring. It would be going around analyzing your building structure and looking at your electronics and checking for any leaks in the home, like carbon monoxide leaks and stuff. It would just be so boring.
I guess it's a bit like forensic science in CSI programs, right? It's not like, well, come on everybody, in this action-packed Hollywood film, time to document everything properly.
Exactly.
Oh, that's interesting though. If any come to mind as we're going through, then feel free to interrupt and shout. If you think anyone's done a good example, I mean, we'll be going through in today's movie some. I guess they're not investigating; they're just there. But
They're just there.
Yeah. I was thinking of the likes of what are those two guys called in Insidious? Specs, and then the other fella.
Lee Wannell and the other one.
Yeah. I don't know. They seem I don't know about legit, but they seem a bit sort of like cynical about everything. And then I guess Paranormal Activity has got a couple. I mean, you rewatched them fairly recently, didn't you? Andy?
Yeah, they have got a couple, but it's also got what's his name? Micah the Day Trader, the worst bloke in the world that deserves to be demoned.
He deserved to be demoned.
Does deserve to get wazzed across a room, to be honest.
What about Derek Acora? Is he a nice bloke?
I've never met him, but people I know that have met him have said was a really nice guy.
He's legit.
He was nice.
We can believe that he's not extorting people.
I used to watch Derek Acora on Most Haunted when it had its real heyday back in the day.
Why have all these ghosts got a Scouse accent then? Oh, it's you. Sorry, Derek.
Yeah. Let me think now. I mean, currently, a couple of paranormal things I watch. You watch any or listen to? It's coming to TV this autumn. Bit of horror news for you. Uncanny, the Danny Robbins stuff for BBC Radio. It's been really good. Are you up to date? Are you up to date with that?
I'm not up to date, but I have listened to the Battersea Poltergeist that he did.
Yes.
And the first series of Uncanny. And yeah, he's brilliant. He's doing so well. Like, he's got so much support from the paranormal community, because on Twitter it's like the Uncanny community. Like, everyone's really, really supportive
getting
of
pretty
Danny.
huge. And then they have, so the latest series of Uncanny just wrapped. I think there's a special like case update episode to go for this season, but then series 3 is this autumn, as is a number of like TV specials they've got on BBC later this year. The podcast, wherever you are in the world, is available. There's Uncanny, there is The Witch Farm, which is dramatized. There's the Battersea Poltergeist. And what I really like about it as a show is that it's quite balanced, right? It hears from people who are paranormal investigators, but there are people who believe in the supernatural, and then you have your diehard skeptics as well, who
Kieran O'Keefe,
yes,
good old Kieran.
Really, really, like, they're into it. They're still engaged with people. They're not necessarily enemies. It's not like one person's there going, "Oh, you buddy, full of it, you are, mate." But they're there. But they're there investigating, and they have just different approaches to it. I think it's a really interesting show and well produced.
Yeah, it really is.
Wow.
We'll put him on the guest list, Ben. If we ever made, we'll know we've made it if we get Danny on.
Okay,
he's a better broadcaster than us. We better up our game, get nicer mics.
Yeah, but that sounds good though. I'll have to check that out.
Oh, it's really good, compelling, like listening, and genuinely, they do some good work with production. That even though it's not necessary, with the exception of the Witch Farm that's dramatized, most of them are interview based or just telling a story, which is presented as, I'm telling you a story of a thing that happened. I'm recounting it like it's a news report, but with the sound effects and everything going in the background. I've been putting the bins out while I've been listening to a few. It's quite spooky. I'm like, I should have waited, really.
Put the bins out in the daylight, if you got to. Okay, so today's movie was, I'm pretty sure it was chosen by you, Leanne, was it not?
Yeah, it was,
maybe
yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
I did choose this.
Couldn't quite remember. Again, another one where it's like strange that we haven't covered it, but strange that I've never seen it before, because I've seen the title of it thrown around all the time, especially when linked to the best found footage films out there, or like supernatural or paranormal, found footage movies. Is found footage a genre that you're a huge fan of, Leanne? Is it one of those?
Well, I was thinking earlier about like some of my other favorite horror films, and I do seem to kind of go back to found footage films, like Blair Witch is just a classic. There was a new one actually that came out in 2022 called Incantation.
Oh, I've been meaning to watch that. It sounds phenomenal. What language is it in?
Taiwanese.
Yes, it's Thai. Right.
Yeah. But that film was amazing. It stayed with me for a long time, and like I was I won't give anything away, but at the end of the film I actually had to look away from the screen. I was too scared to look at the screen.
I've heard that looking at the screen and engaging with it is a spooky thing, and from other people I've heard listening to it, I can't do that throat singing, but
Oh yeah,
you don't like that anymore either.
yeah. To be fair though, there was at least one moment in this film that I was a bit unsure of watching, when a certain character hides under some blankets, which we all know is the only way to actually officially evade a ghost or a ghoulie.
I'd have stayed under there till morning.
Just hide under the blanket, because I just knew that he was going to look out, and whatever he was looking at was going to be closer than it was before.
Yeah.
And I think that was effective. That was definitely effective. That got me more so than old clowny chops. But yeah, found footage for me is definitely up there as one of my favorites. I think the Blair Witch Project is. I've rewatched it just last week because we covered Blair Witch 2 last week, which isn't found footage.
No,
but I thought I'd watch the OG just to remind myself, and yeah, it is just perfect. And Wreck as well. I think if
Wreck's one of my favorites.
Yeah, if I was going to list like a solid top 2, I think Blair Witch and Wreck are definitely those 2. I know As Above, So Below gets a lot of
As Above, So Below I really liked. I thought that was excellent.
I don't know if I've seen that yet. I don't think I've seen that yet.
Really good. Saying that, Leanne, what's going to happen is I'm going to say that it's on Shudder and it will disappear because I've said it.
Yeah, okay.
But it's available where all good horror movies are found.
Yeah, that's a good one. But yeah, I think we've covered plenty of plenty of found footage movies, and then one that sort of also stuck out at me as well. I was going to ask you, Leanne, if you were a fan of this. Have you seen, or are you a fan of Ghost Watch?
The original, the BBC one.
Yeah.
The BBC one, yeah. Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
With pipes.
Yeah, pipes.
Yeah. Of course. I love that.
That gave me, this gave me lots of recollections of Ghost Watch, watching House LLC, because it's presented as a television program, as a framing reference, right? It's like a documentary.
Yeah, but that's exactly what I was going to say. Like, I got some Ghost Watch vibes from this. Obviously, Michael Parkinson isn't there or available. Maybe he wasn't available. But yeah, I definitely got some vibes of that. The way it's framed, because it does kind of feel like it's framed as one of those true crime, almost like a Netflix like special that you'd see now, but obviously framed in such a way where it's got like a bookending of these documentary filmmakers sort of going into the house as well. I thought it was effective. Have you been to like horror experiences like this, where what would you call it? Just like a horror,
like a horror walkthrough almost, isn't it? You get them at Alton Towers at like Halloween.
Yeah, I've been to I think it was Frightmare in Gloucester. And you are walking through, like, there was one attraction, and it's like again, it's like the strobe lights flashing, and you're walking through these like clear hanging sheets, and it's all white walls. It's really like, just horrible. And like, I was a wimp. I was screaming, swearing, like pushing people out the way, trying to go as fast as possible, looking at the ground because I didn't want to see people. Like I was embarrassed with myself. Like,
I'm kind of glad that I went to that before I saw this film, because it would always be there in the back of my head. I'd just be like, someone's gonna kill me.
Yeah.
I'll have to apologize to anyone who I've told this one on the podcast before, but apparently there's a brilliant one in sort of Derby, Nottingham way on a farm that we should perhaps arrange a trip to this Halloween. It's meant to be really, really good. My wife and sister have been to it. Incredible, apparently. Really, really well produced. I'll find the name and I'll send it to you. But the only ones I've really been to are at theme parks, Alton Towers, Thorpe Park, and so on. And the prevailing memory for me on that one is it's sometimes a little hard to get into it when there's lots of other people around, and you're at a theme park as well, because obviously you're in like a manufactured area, so you can kind of separate a little bit, even if things make you jump. But for me, there was one of the attractions at Thorpe Park last time when it was just before COVID, or just maybe when you could do outside stuff again, I forget. But it was like it was set up like it was in sort of rural, sort of Rust Belt US. It was like a sawmill that was going through. We went in there, and this guy who was like the boss in his dungarees and everything came out, and he was saying that, "Hello, everybody." He said hello, and then he looked expectantly for us to say hello, and then one little voice in the crowd said like goodbye, and he stopped and went, "Who said goodbye?" And like everyone outed this kid who'd done it. And he was like, "Right, you said goodbye. you can crawl. Everyone else is going to the door. You're going to crawl into this thing.
Oh my God.
And then my mate was with us, and he went, "Oh, I won't send him on his own. You can go with him as well." But this was like a teenager who went in here first, and then my mate, who was a guy in his 30s, who like crawled in after him, and then he was crawling through this button. You can hear people banging on it all the way. And my friend, as we came out, told me that he basically ended up catching up with this kid who was like, "I can't move, mate. You're gonna have to go," and he had to crawl over this kid who was like,
Oh, it's just frozen with
right.
fear.
Who said goodbye? This is not the time to be cheeky.
Oh wow.
It's like getting busted by that video man on Atmosphere. It's like, if you didn't wave to me, get to fucking vanished, mate.
I went to Fear at Avon Valley, which was pretty good. I mean, it was pretty good, but I think, yeah, I felt like I knew I was at like an event like that. I didn't get fully into it. But they had some sort of actors when I went to the dungeons in Edinburgh as well, which was a bit more effective because they were like proper pitch black areas and stuff and suddenly lights would come on and somebody stood right in front of your face.
And those blokes didn't even work there. They were just people who were in the dungeons.
They didn't even work there. It was just people from just Edinburgh's finest, wasn't it?
It was only when he was strangling me that I realised this wasn't part of it.
You're struggling a bit hard. Can you struggle a bit softer, please? No. But yeah, I think it's one of those things that if I had have seen this film going into any of those, it would have been right there in the back of my head. And I think that's kind of, that in a way would be more effective because it's all of those lingering horror experiences I have that then apply themselves to real life. Like even when I'm in a swimming pool these days, I think Jaws is in here. Jaws is gonna get me any minute now. You know, I just always, or if I'm walking down a completely empty street and I think I haven't seen anyone for ages, I think a zombie apocalypse has happened. I'm even gonna get home. So yeah, I think it was effective in that way. I guess before we jump into the review of the film, I guess we should talk a little bit about horror news. I've only got a couple of things this week. There's an image of actress Emma Appleton in an untitled Cornish folk horror movie. So folk horror seems to be pretty damn big again, of course, but a Cornish one. So Ennis Men came out last year, a Cornish horror film, although it was a bit more of a psychological thriller. So it looks like Cornwall is becoming a very popular place. Where was Men set as well?
That was Southwest, right? All I remember about Men is the quality of that brand new Ford Focus straight off the forecourt.
Oh yeah, it was brand new, wasn't it? It was absolutely brand new.
Absolutely brand new till Rory Kinnear wrecked it. Piece of work.
So
yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Cornwall's the place to go, and having lost all that EU money, probably well up for sacrificing people again, I guess.
They sure are. They never stopped. So the synopsis for this, even though it's not got a title, is when Magpie's husband dies, yes, her name's Magpie, in mysterious circumstances, a brutal witch hunt threatens to tear apart an isolated religious community. So I'm assuming it's set in the old past with the pastos. But
is that the pastos? Is that a full name? Is her name Magpie something, or is her name Magpie?
It just says Magpie as in the bird at the moment, so I'm assuming.
Margaret Pye.
It's Margaret Pye, and it's a debut feature from filmmaker Dean Puckett, which is good. You know, I feel like if you're going to make a debut feature, make it a Cornish folk horror movie.
Why not?
This sounds very interesting, though. I'll definitely be up for that. Did you watch Ennis Men? Did anyone watch Ennis Men?
I've not seen that yet. I've seen the previous one, which is like it's not a horror. It's just stuff that happens.
Yeah,
Bait. I've seen Bait.
Interesting, you know. I think it's an interesting setting for any sort of horror film, and I think I want to see more of it. I want to see more stuff set in loads of random southwest places. Horror in, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a really random Yeovil.
Bodmin Moor.
Yeovil Town City Centre.
Hasn't Bodmin Moor got like the hairy hands that come and get you? Where's the film of that?
Beast of Bodmin.
There's the Beast of Bodmin that's a big, that's like, you know, a big panther, but there's like a hairy hand that like grabs the wheel of your car.
Yeah, I hated that. I hated that. Someone told me about that in school, and honestly terrified me.
And obviously you're at school, Ben. I imagine you probably went to school where the letters
not anymore.
Orthos, and the hairy hat man was letter H as well. Probably he hits him with the hairy hands. The hairy hands, the hairy hat man.
I've got. I wouldn't say my hands are particularly hairy, but I've got a little bit of hair on them. Terrifying of my own
You'd be
hands.
out
I'm
in
gonna have to beat.
out in Bodmin, yanking people's steering wheels off them.
I thought you were gonna say. I thought you were gonna say something else then.
I meant that.
Not anymore. I'm gonna have to.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to veet me whole arm just to make sure
Yanking
I'm not
people
scared of
about in
myself anymore.
Bodmin. We'll we'll make that film, Ben, after we've done New Year's Eve. We'll get on the hairy hands man.
That's good. Stop yanking people off in
that'll be a line in it. Someone
It
else
will.
go, here, stop
people
yanking me off.
Oh, I just love it. I want more Southwest accents, not just in horror movies, in all movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get to work on it.
Next piece of news, Blumhouse have acquired serial killer novel The Quiet Tenant for a series / streaming movie. So it looks like they haven't even decided what they're going to make yet. But it's an expertly placed psychological thriller with a white-knuckle climax, someone's described. Well, if you haven't even made it, don't describe it yet. I'm sure they're talking about the book.
It's got a dead good ending. Don't worry. That's the first note.
It's got a dead good ending. You won't
everyone,
see it coming.
down. Write a script. What I want is a good ending, please. If you could.
It's literally what it says. It's a serial killer novel with a twist. Okay, I won't say anything else. But this could be. It's told through the perspectives of 3 women in the killer's life. His daughter, his girlfriend, and the captive. He is earmarked for death. So this could be quite interesting. I wonder how that's going to work. Because obviously his daughter, his girlfriend, no idea. His daughter probably suspects a little something, and the captive obviously knows he's wrong. So this could be interesting. I've never actually heard of this book, written by Clemence McCallum. But yeah, it's Blumhouse, so they're always bringing it out. Okay, and the last piece of news is Dead Space Deep Cover has been announced, a scripted audio series based on the EA video game. Did you see this, Andy? Don't know if you saw this.
I haven't.
Did you say something about this? Okay. An all-new story set in the perilous universe of the Dead Space games, a survival horror franchise known for its intense gameplay, very intense. And in Dead Space Deep Cover, journalist Emmeline Ayuba searches for her sister, who has reportedly joined a local Unitologist church. So I don't know if it's going to be set, where it's going to be set. Hopefully in space, if it's called Dead Space. Interesting. Another audio.
Yeah.
A scripted audio series. Seem to be incredibly popular, Andy.
Yeah, they did a good as the Callisto Protocol came out, they did a good little prequel audio series with Gwendolyn Christie et al. Behind it.
Wow,
little 6-parter that just released quietly as a promo. That was really good. It's really good. I finished that, unlike the game, which I'm a couple of chapters into and then got sidetracked.
It just seems like a good way to get extra content out that doesn't seem to have a massive budget or turnaround time, that we're going to make a TV show, we're going to make a movie. A nice audio series can sometimes provide just that extra
you can bring it out timely, and besides for if you've got some well-known vocal talent behind it, which probably comes at a pretty penny, but even them will be less than having them on set for months in costume and makeup. So it's probably quite a cost-effective way to get some more content out. Yeah, and I'll always turn up for a little podcast series. Very welcome.
Yeah, exactly. On it. Okay. I mean, that is all I've got for horror news, unless there's anything else that anyone has got pressing. Andy, did you mention something before? You told us already. Nothing in the news.
Nothing in the news.
So the next section is what we've been watching. If you've watched anything horror or horror adjacent in the last 7 days or so. Leanne, have you seen anything recently that you wanted to mention?
I haven't, because I've been moving in the last 7 days, so I've had not a lot of spare time.
Moving in itself is a real life horror.
Yeah, real life horror.
Yeah. And I can't find any of my stuff. It's all in boxes still, and I've lost everything, and yeah, it's a pain. But
you put it in one of them, but which one?
Yeah, I know. No, I did watch House again last night to just refresh my memory. But no, I've been a bit slack recently.
As it's your first appearance, Leanne, you're allowed to go back to anything you've watched a little while ago.
A little bit further ago. Okay. The Entity.
The Entity. It's been a long time since I've seen
I
that.
know.
Remind us, how did you find it? Does it hold up?
So yeah, It does actually. I watched The Entity when I was about 13, and I remember the thing that I remember about it was that deep bass when the spirit or entity would, be hurting this woman. And I remember it just being terrifying. And then started reading a book by a guy called Dr. Barry Taff, who was the guy that was actually one of the parapsychologists on the original case that The Entity was based on.
Oh, no way.
So
Wow.
I was
Amazing.
so I was like, oh, I need to rewatch this film. So rewatched it and watched it on my own when I was home alone.
Oh
and
no.
I got into bed that night, and I was like, I started like overthinking everything, because in the film she's just, a mom, going about her business, then gets home and then gets like assaulted, like, there was like, it went from 0 to 100. So I'm there lying in bed thinking like, is tonight the night? Like, like,
I don't want to get entity.
I know.
Knock, it's the bloody entity.
Like,
No.
it's like, please, no. And yeah, so actually, like, yeah, it did freak me out a bit, but yeah, really enjoyed that. But I haven't been to the cinema in ages and watched a horror.
Has there been anything out next? We've already discussed stuff coming out in July. Obviously, there's a new Insidious coming out in July. Was it Insidious 5 or something like that? Is it 5 or 4?
Insidious, The Red Door, and Talk to Me, which looks good.
Talk to Me, a new A24 horror movie coming out as well.
Cool.
Obviously the Boogeyman, which we covered a couple of weeks ago on the show. I don't actually know if I've ever seen The Entity. I recognize the poster and sort of like the DVD cover, but I don't know if I've ever seen it.
I think I watched it on TV with my mom many years ago.
Did you? Brave.
Whack it on the list. And it was her that told me about it. She's like, oh, my mom loves watching anything. Like, I say she loves watching horror movies. My mom does not sleep particularly well. So since I was a kid, my mom would have fallen asleep outing your mom, would have fallen asleep on the sofa in the early evening, and then would wake up after everyone else has gone to bed and think, oh, fuck it, I'm here now, I'll watch a bit of telly.
Yeah.
And she'd watch all kinds of late stuff. And the things I have vivid memories of her describing: first time she saw Nightmare on Elm Street, first time she saw The Entity, and first time she saw Stephen King's The Night Flyer. And The Entity, watched the next time it was on together. I sat and watched at least some of it with her.
Definitely watch it. It is good.
We'll whack it on the list.
I guarantee my mum knows this film as well. Was it ever remade? This, because 1982 seems like ripe for the picking
I don't think it's been remade, but it was is it Barbara Hershey was the main character. So she's still in the horror genre, isn't she?
She's in Insidious. She's like the mum of Patrick Wilson's character in Insidious.
There you go.
I'm gonna check this out, I think, because just completely forgot that existed. Andy, have you seen anything in the last 7 days?
This week, then it's little asides. So I watched on Screenbox. I watched The Barn Part 2 this week. I've not seen The Barn Part 1, but I think that's perfect.
Oh, no.
I think that's perfect for it. So it's like a real throwback. It's set in the early 90s. It's a bit like House LLC, this week's film, in that there's a haunted house attraction that has actual demons, but it's super schlocky. It's got Lloyd Kaufman has, a cameo appearance as the mayor of the town of Troma fame. It has both Joe Bob and Darcy the Mail Girl from The Last Drive-In have minor roles in it as well. So it's really showing its like horror influence on its sleeve. It's very silly. There's 3 demons. One's dressed like a devil. One is like a scarecrow / corn cob, and one is a jack-o'-lantern. And they have loads of practical effects with people's heads getting stomped on, and they're chopping people's faces off and punching their hearts out and things like that. It's over the top, but I had a lot of fun watching it. And then on Shudder, I watched Witchboard. It's like a 1980s Ouija board movie. Yeah. For a film, usually you get one of these films that have like seances and Ouija board things that come up, and there's precious little actual use of the board in it. Witchboard is 100% about it. A good portion of the film is people having a chat via text format with with the go and slight spoilers. I might do a bite size on this actually, Ben. A woman with luxurious 80s ginger hair with so much volume gets possessed by an Italian serial killer at a point, and she does an excellent voice. I'm gonna kill you. Just stand still so I can chop your head off.
I mean, if I wasn't sold before, I definitely am sold.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen that. It's got, who's it got on it? Anyone we should know?
No
Todd Allen?
No one whose names
No.
I could immediately pull.
Yeah.
But
okay.
yeah, you know what? It was a fun movie, and there's a second one, so I might go on and watch that pretty soon.
Did you watch either of these films to celebrate your birthday? Listeners, you may not be aware, but Andy celebrated his 40th birthday just yesterday.
Did.
And to celebrate, we put out a post on socials, which was essentially the best of Andy Conduit Turner from his first appearance on the podcast back in 2017 on episode 23.
Goes fast.
Sleepaway Camp, one of his favorites, and then to a couple of recent good times we had. And of course, if you do want your Andy Conduit Turner content in its purest form, just search Horror Hangout Quiz, and there's like, how many have we done? Four or five?
We've done a few quiz episodes now. Yeah, some of my finest work in the quizzes. Thank you.
Some of his finest work. Definitely check that out. So you didn't watch either of those films?
No, I watched House LLC for my birthday in the evening, but in the daytime, because it was a rainy day here in Scotland. Not that we get many of those. But it was a rainy day here, so I went to see Spider-Man at the cinema, but not really horror adjacent. I mean, a multiverse might be scary, I guess, if you faced one in real life, but it's not presented as the horrors of science.
Yeah, that's true.
The Prowler's a bit scary. He comes out.
I was going to say that
noise.
The Prowler with his music, pretty terrifying.
Yeah, the Prowler's music spooky. But other than that, Ben, one last little bit. Started a new game I've been playing on the Xbox, Alien Dark Descent, which is a story-driven, like a tactical game. I'm not very far into it. I'm just through the first little bit. Classic Alien setup where there's a ship with some cargo. It's about they suddenly make a request to leave, and they've left half the bloody cargo behind. What's going on? Those boxes they've left behind. You know what? Full of bloody aliens, aren't they? Xenomorphs, chockers full with xenomorphs, those boxes were. And now everyone on the crew's getting face hugged, and there's a big xenomorph chasing me about, and I'm hiding behind some boxes, but from an isometric view this time, not first person like Alien Isolation.
Oh, okay.
So pretty good. I'm going to play through that.
What kind of game is it, did you say?
I think it has like tactical elements to it, but it isn't like an XCOM turn-based. As far as I've played so far, it still functions in real time. I'm moving my character around with, just like I point to a pop point on the floor where I want them to move to, or something I want them to interact with, and they go over there. But it isn't pausing because it's my go and then the aliens go. I'm moving around, and like I've just reached a point where I'm facing a xenomorph now, and it's like, right, a xenomorph is coming. You've got until this bar goes red to find a place to be hiding. And I ran over to some boxes and like crouched behind there. But it's interesting. It looks like there's lots to come from it. So I'll progress my way through that slowly and report back.
Nice. I've not really watched all that much this week. I don't know. Just sometimes the week gets away from you, doesn't it? I haven't watched anything. I've watched, I think I've got one more episode left of Black Mirror season 6. So have you seen that as well, Leanne?
Yeah.
Oh, you have?
I think I watched all of them. I think.
You watched all of them. Okay. So there's one episode in particular. I don't think we should spoil it because if you go into it, you definitely won't think this. So I won't even mention the name of the episode. But there's one particular episode which leans heavily into horror, and with a bit of a twist as well, which I don't think I quite saw coming until like there were a couple of pieces where I was like, hang on a minute. Do you reckon this is? And even when I said it out loud, I was like, that's probably a bit silly.
Yeah.
But it was that. And I think that was pretty cool. I don't know how many times Black Mirror has done like an out and out sort of horror. I know we last week we were speaking about some episodes, and the episode Metalhead with the little creepy robot dog which like stalks Maxine Peake in a post-apocalyptic world. It's probably one of the only other episodes that sticks out to me as being horror. But I don't know. I've got one more to watch, but I have been enjoying it so far. I don't think these are like the straight up technology is bad sort of episodes at the moment, but you know, they've still presented a lot. Performances are really good. Have you seen any yet, Andy? No.
No, I'm so far behind Black Mirror. I've seen a few episodes in isolation, but like that and like Love, Death and Robots as well, that people seem to really love. I've never sat down and gone, right, starting episode 1, I'm going to watch all of these, which is fine because, you know, they are all standalone things. But in real life horrors, I find deeply upsetting because I want to watch things in order, and that's my problem, I know, but I should just start and just go through all 6 series, and then when I see the ones I've already seen, I can go, oh, I've seen that one, but I need to sit and watch them all because apparently they're very, very good.
Leanne, do you have a particular favorite episode from this series, would you say? There's a very true crime episode.
I did like Lock Henry.
Yeah,
Lock Henry I thought was very clever. The one with Aaron Paul I thought was very good.
Aaron Paul and Josh Hartnett were both very good.
Do you know when Josh Hartnett popped up on the screen, I was like, no, where's he been? It's not 2002. Like, dude,
he's not aged a bloody day.
I know. But no, yeah, it's I love what Charlie Brooker does. It's incredible. His mind.
Is that sort of like isolating sci-fi, I think is up there with some of the best Black Mirror episodes, I think, and this is a really good one as well. I've got one more to watch, which I think is like a sort of 70s set. I don't know what to expect with that.
Is that Demon 37?
I'm not sure actually. Demon something, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've not watched that one yet, so I'll get around to it. But I think I always have a good time with Black Mirror. But I think as time progresses, I remember the series less and less. So when I kind of think of my favorites, I always go right back to the start. And like the last couple of series, they've been great. I've never once watched it and gone, I wasn't so impressed with that. Maybe the interactive one, Bandersnatch, was the only one where I was a bit unsure on.
Is that officially an episode of Black Mirror, or is it just a thing?
I think it's like a standalone, separate to all the series, like interactive film, I guess.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, we had to like.
Yeah, you actually had to click on the screen. Yeah.
What choices you had to make? I can't remember. Okay, so that was it really. I mean, I did watch a movie called On the Silver Globe, which is directed by Andrzej Zalewski, who also directed Possession. When me and Luke chatted about Possession a couple of weeks ago, we spoke about this movie On the Silver Globe, which is like a really weird, sort of like sci-fi, like very, very arty. This film, incredibly
added
arty.
to my list when Luke recommended it. It sounds wild.
Yeah, it is wild. I mean, I won't lie and pretend I knew everything that was going on. There were huge stretches of the film where I was just like, what? It's almost like it's not got apes in it, but I was definitely getting Planet of the Apes vibes without the apes.
It's Birdman,
Planet
right?
of the Birdman. Yeah, kind of.
Birdman that you crossbreed with. Bloody hell.
So it's like these group of cosmic explorers like leave Earth, and then they start a new civilization, and later on, like a human lands on Earth, lands on the planet, and they like treat him as a god. It is nuts, but it's like 3 hours of just madness. I think if you like Possession, probably this might not be for you, just because it's completely different tonally and genre-wise as well. So, that was it though. That is all I've seen apart from House LLC. Hell House, little. What did we say it was? Hell House, little lovely cottage. Where nothing bad, where nothing bad ever happens.
The lovely little cottage, aka Hell House,
aka Hell House. So, Hell House LLC is a 2015 American found footage horror film written and directed by Stephen Cognetti. The film, shot as a documentary, follows a group of Halloween haunted house creators as they prepare for the 2009 opening of their popular haunted attraction, Hell House. The rest of the synopsis is a spoiler, so I won't read that out. So, in terms of ratings of this movie, we've got 6.4 on IMDb. On Rotten Tomatoes, it's got 75% critic score and 72% audience score. So people seem to like it. It's been quite well received. 3.1 out of 5 on Letterboxd, and I've got some choice reviews. When I say choice reviews, just the ones that made me laugh the most, probably. So Ziggy Francis says, every time the camera span or twisted around the corner, my asshole shrank. 3.5 stars. And I was like, same. Corey says, effective, creepy, simple, intriguing, scary, low budget, interesting, fun, believable, raw, well crafted, and underrated. 4 stars. There's lots of nice words about it. Viol says, I think the demons just need some homies. 1.5 stars. I don't know why this one made me laugh so much. Roxy says, the LLC stands for lame, waste of time. 2.5 stars. So kind of like looking through the reviews, like a lot of people are just like, this is the best found footage movie ever, without a doubt. And other people are saying, so is this supposed to be the best found footage movie ever? Because I thought it was shit. That's what a lot of people seem to be saying. So it seems to be like you're one end or another. People don't seem to be middling very, very often. So but yeah, first time for me watching this one. Was it the first time for you, Andy, did you say?
It was first time. So Leanne will be led by your fandom of this movie.
Okay. Yeah, I think I've watched it 4 times now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you watch it like around about the time it was released? Was it like a later discovery for you?
I think I originally watched it probably about 2 years ago. And I think I came across it because I was home alone one day and I was like, I want to watch something really scary. And I think I just found a forum and people saying, this is the best films I've seen. And I just kind of, wrote a few down, like, okay, I need to watch this, this, and this. And this was just one that I watched. And I was like, yeah, I like that. I like this one. And then I ended up recommending it to friends. And then they were texting me going, oh my God, how am I going to sleep now? I've just watched it. And I'm like, yes. Like,
Well, you should be so lucky. I'm sat here worried about the bloody entity.
I like that. I like that is the best reaction when you recommend a horror movie to someone. If someone comes back to you and says, what are you on about? That wasn't scary at all. I'm like, I just look at my hands. It's like, what have I done? I'm not a horror enthusiast at all. So yeah, this is definitely an effective one. And as we mentioned before, it's got a couple of sequels as well. I don't, as far as I'm aware, I don't think they're anywhere near as popular as the original.
No.
Like LLC, I keep going to say LL Cool J. Hell House LLC 2, the Aberdeen Hotel. Hell House LL Cool J. No, LLC 3.
Hell House
Lake
Ladies Love Cool James. The C stands for Cool James.
I'll tell you what, if a movie ever needed LL Cool J, it was this movie, because as we mentioned already, the guys, everyone in this film is so generic that I don't know who. Sometimes with a found footage movie, it's so difficult to work out who's who anyway, and who you need to kind of care about or maybe not care about. Sometimes you don't even see the person behind the camera, and when you do, it can be a bit jarring. But everyone is so generic in this, and everyone's kind of a dick. Like no one's particularly like, this guy's all right, we should let them. That's how I kind of felt about everybody anyway.
Now you've mentioned it, Ben, I hadn't thought that's what I needed from this film, but now I'd accept any number of rapper turned actors as the cameraman. Maybe Cool James, maybe Cool Leo, maybe DMX. Like
definitely someone with charisma and who could deliver like some good one-liners behind the camera, because
some sick burns.
The fact that most of the time we've got like a slightly like a problematic like guy behind the camera who's a bit of a perv and like not particularly likable. He's not particularly hardworking. He's not particularly likable. He's not particularly talented or funny. He's just a bit of a dick.
Like, what is his job there? Why is he there?
I think there's a bit where they're defending him later, and he goes, "No, you set up all these cameras."
Oh yeah, they do say that. Yeah,
I know, but you've been working on this for 3 months. I expect
this feels like a massive undertaking. I just kept thinking, go moving all the way like to a different part of the country to set up like a haunted house. Just for one night a year, really, or a few nights before October. What are we going to do with it? Do something local, yeah. I think they had
at the end of the day.
I think they'd already like garnered some success from a haunted house in New York. Is that right?
Well, I think at one point Sarah does say, "Oh, it's 30 minutes out of the city. So I still think it's supposed to be set close, still in the state of New York. But
they're like sleeping
when
there.
they say that 30 minutes out of the city, aka commutable home.
Oh no, we're gonna have to stay. We have to stay here. We have to stay here for the. No, I'm off home.
Yeah.
See you later.
No.
Yeah. All my stuff's there.
Yeah, it is a bit odd. So yeah, the way this film is presented is as a documentary, essentially investigating a tragic, unexplained accident which happens at the opening night of this haunted house, and then we kind of see what supposedly happened without really getting any details, and then it goes back and it's got everybody who's like investigating it. There's like a photographer / journalist person,
Yeah.
Police, although even these people don't seem to have a clue what happened either. So I was like, what are we talking to these people for?
Builds as we go, doesn't it? So we begin with a scene that comes back later with a reporter having a go on the doors, like giving all the little handles a little shake, having a little nonchalant tug on the boards on the things. Oh no, pretty solid. And then we kind of go into the talking heads a little bit. So who have we got? We've got there's a photographer that we hear a bit more from later. There's the documentary maker, and then we get some eyewitnesses, right? Like there's someone who was a witness at the opening. Goes, oh bloody hell, it was horrible. Yeah, it was crazy.
Some people who like upload a video to YouTube as well. So can I just get the timeline correct? So obviously this is supposed to have happened in 2009.
Yeah.
Is this documentary looking back on it like in the immediate aftermath of that? It's not like years later.
Well, when we see a character that comes back up, is it? We've mentioned this before.
Sarah.
Is it Sarah?
Yeah, didn't they say like about a 5-6 month timeline?
She said she's been staying. She said she's been staying with family for 3-4 months. So it's several months after that event.
Okay, staying with
that
family
this documentary
and
is being made
with a lovely secret bag of videotapes.
Yeah,
and she's like, "No, I ain't looked at them. Could be anything on there."
I guess if it's 2009, where she got a VHS machine from.
Yeah, that's true. So initially we see this video, which is like of the haunted house. So it's just a couple, they're queuing for a while, and then it's like all the standard stuff, going into various rooms, getting scared. And then is the first weird thing that happens, like a guy dressed as a clown, like legs it.
Just like ambles past them. I kind of like this because we get the context for all of this stuff later on, right? We see the lighting effect, and then we see a clown running out, and then we see it's hard to then overcome what you've seen that is part of the scary stuff and what is separate, and what was part of the haunted house they put together, because some creepy blokes in a room in a corridor with strobe lighting on. There is like a barman behind the bar with he's got ever such bad hay fever. You think the pollen season would be over at Halloween, but it's not. He's been rubbing them, and he's like, "Buddy, get out!" And then they go down into the basement. And as this little clip ends, they go down into the basement, and everyone is going absolutely bezic, trying to get out of the basement, and then they basically run back through the way they came.
Would you believe it? Would the cynic in you just be like, "Oh, it's all part of it, is it? Yeah, all right. Let me down there. Let me see what's going on there." I'd be dead. I'd be dead without a shadow of a doubt. I would be dead.
Yeah. But then again, Ben, maybe the Ghoulies wouldn't know how to deal with it if you weren't afraid. Because in many ways, these demons
their own game
have probably picked the worst night to turn up. Because when we actually see them, we'll come to it later. Like they have costumes that could be mistaken for Halloween costumes and like props.
Yeah.
So you'd be like, leave it out.
Also, it's kind of strange because all of the events that happen, it's like subsequently after this, I almost get to the point where I'm like, how did they still manage to open the actual Hell House like on opening night after everything that happens afterwards? Surely everyone would be like, you know what, maybe we should just leave, or maybe just not open it. The fact that they still get to a point where they're like,
well, there's a reason, isn't there? I mean, we'll come to it when we get to it in the plot, I know, but there's a reason that they discuss they do like a little there's a bit that Max says, "Oh, the reason we're not walking away is," and he
alludes to the fact, doesn't he?
Well, he does tell him, but it's kind of like Sooty talking to Matthew Corbett, and he's like, "Here's this." And then the next scene is just him sitting in a field with a sunset, like his Anakin Skywalker, going, "Alas, I must stay." Like, and he's like, "What did he say?" Because
I mean,
I feel at the end of the day, like you'd say, like, always, you know, if it was a reason, like, always put all the money from the company into this, I'd be like, well, I'm an employee, not a shareholder, so I think there's ghosts. I'm still doing one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, like, I think found footage films often struggle when you can't quite believe the reason for the person continuing filming, which, you know, sometimes it makes sense because, look, we're trying to get evidence of something, for example. So that's why we're going to keep filming. Blair Witch Project, obviously, they're making a documentary, so it's kind of like Heather just wants to keep filming because she's like, no matter what happens, it's all I've got left. I'm literally scared. I've literally got not in control of anything that's happening. All I've got left is continuing to make this film.
And she'll be like, "Oh, I'm in line for a D at the minute. I need to get a really good project
I've
out
got
of
to keep
this."
going, you know. I've got to keep going. All I've filmed is up my own nose. So
my dad's told me I should have studied medicine or law. I'm never going to live this down if I don't come up with a really good documentary.
But with this one, I don't know. Like, I get it to a degree, but when I don't get it is when the person who is the person filming disappears. Is like why they then carry on. It almost feels like
well, the other people who none of them were obsessed with the camera, like Eyeball Paul was. Like
but even then, like when they say, "Oh, we're filming it for our records," it's like I'm pretty sure that the stressful weeks leading up to like opening a like Hell House is not going to be fun for anybody to watch back.
Yeah,
I bet they never watch it back. It's like your kids' recitals when you go to school. No, ain't no one watching that back. It's like It's like getting your phone out at a concert and be like, "Oh."
It's like recording
taping the
fireworks.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna watch that. You're gonna watch that back, are you? With shit sound and like just little pixels of color.
I'm gonna put that on my story so everybody knows that I was at the fireworks. Yeah, they do. Oh yeah, I've seen them before. Oh yeah. Once you've seen one firework, you've seen them all.
Wait. Watch this. Watch to the end. There's a blue one that goes off. You don't get them very often. China don't export that many. But like,
so I don't know. I kind of feel like, Leanne, do you feel like you believe that this guy should be continuing filming? Did you buy it?
No. So I watched, like I said, I watched it again last night, so that it was fresh in my mind, and I watched it with my partner Sam, and he said multiple times, "Why don't you just leave? Like leave. Like why are you still staying there night after night after night when lots of crazy stuff's been happening, you know?" So yeah, I think there was no reason. I think in one scene the camera was mounted to someone's head. Yes. So it was almost like that. I think was less. There was less.
That was like when the house opened, wasn't it?
Yeah. That was like someone had a head mic, like a head cam on to like facilitate running the thing, so the people in the control room, and that makes sense.
I get that.
Actually, if you had a head cam on and scary shit was happening, you probably wouldn't think to turn it off. You'd be like, "Oh, don't want to capture this." Off.
Yeah.
But
you wouldn't.
I think very specifically the bit where Paul goes AWOL later on, that someone else then begins carrying the camera around.
Yeah,
it's hard to keep that contrivance going. But you know, to be fair, if we've got problems with it, like we're believing that there's clowny demons and things like that get all those people, so we can probably let it go.
But I just genuinely feel like that is what all found footage movies like hinge on. That is the rule. Like, if you don't believe that this should be carrying on being filmed, then it just completely takes you out of it.
The onset of body cams and head cams and things like that, you know, people having things like GoPros that you would just have on and do it, that's probably its best way out of it, right? That I do this because, you know, it's for security or something that we're doing, or it helps the people in the control room see what the people running the thing have, then that works. But it's very difficult to think, especially
the fact that they arrive Paul, 1 month before it opens, and they're like, "I'm just going to document everything."
Even sooner, right? Isn't it like August?
Yeah.
And look at it in like August. Yeah, in 3 short months, we're going to be.
Yeah, it was a bit nuts. So essentially, like from the word go, we kind of begin to understand the dynamic between the characters. Again, forgive me for not remembering everybody's name. I do apologize. But there's like a bit of two guys are like constantly arguing. There's a couple of people like more having a laugh of everything, but a couple of the guys bloody stress heads, aren't they? Well, you want to do the navigating, do you? I'm busy over here. And then they're like arguing outside. So we get the dynamic initially where it's like the guy running the show essentially is obviously stressed because everybody's time and money that they're putting into it.
Yeah.
He's a bloody visionary, isn't he? He's gonna make this unbelievable horror house like you've never seen. There's gonna be people dressed as clowns. What? There's gonna be a man
scary
at the piano. There's going to be a man at the piano. Yeah. So.
We should say, actually, the whole reason we have these videos is as part of the little documentary. You've had some talking heads after the YouTube video saying, and everyone covered it up and said it was a gas leak or just a spooky time and someone had bashed the head.
But
and then
did you ever
they meet
understand?
Survivors.
Sorry, Andy. Did anybody like fully understand like why it was potentially being covered up? Why?
It's kind of implied that they couldn't explain, so just didn't.
They couldn't explain it, so they just like covered it up. But in a way, that's just like that's worse, isn't it?
I think if they came out and said, "Oh yeah, we found a woman with neck slit, and we found a guy with his head bashed in, and we found 3 people," all this type of stuff, people would be like, "Well, who did it?" And if they went,
"Yeah,
don't know,"
but then it would just be an open murder investigation, wouldn't it? And they
blame it on one of the guys that's dead. Come on, police.
Yeah.
So he did it.
That creepy clown did it with his eyes bleeding. It was obviously him.
Look at him. Look at this face. Definitely wronging. You want to meet this guy in a dark alley?
I am genuinely feeling a little bit put off by that clown behind you, Andy.
As long as his face doesn't move, you're all right.
There was something about with the moments when they said they like looked down into the basement and like a guy just took photos down there, and you just looked down at that ominous kind of like. The crazy thing is like that is scarier than that. Like just seeing nothing and thinking something could potentially just pop its head around the corner in a second.
Have you ever had that in any of your investigations that you've been part of, Leanne, where there's a place that you just thought, I don't want to go down there. No, thanks.
Bad vibes.
Yeah. So I did an investigation about 3 weeks ago at Woodchester Mansion. And the team that I was with said, okay, we want everyone to do a lone walk around Woodchester Mansion. So what someone did was they put a piece of paper on every floor in the building, and they said you've got to go in, write your name on every piece of paper to prove that you went into that room. And I did it. I was like, no, I need to like, show that I'm like, not afraid.
I'm legit.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I can do this. And I walked around, and in Woodchester Mansion, there's the cellar, and it's pitch black, and you're walking down, and I was singing to myself. I was like singing Disney songs in my head, we don't talk about Bruno, like it's going like trying anything to get like demons, ghosts, anything out of my head. And I'm like,
that's my favorite song. That is the demon would say.
Yeah,
I've heard that 100 times.
Starts harmonizing with me. I'm like, geez. And then so like that is terrifying because you're going into this cellar and it's just a thin at the bottom, and you've just got door, and it's just pitch black. And I'm just there thinking like anything could just be stood in the doorway. You just, and I think that's
could you like
scarier.
Bump into someone else who was walking around as well? Would they be like walking around at the same time?
No. You had to go in the building on your own and go
solo walk around.
Yeah,
right?
Solo. Yeah. So there was no one else there.
Wow. That's pretty terrifying. Yeah. So yes, I guess it's the fear of the unknown, which is probably worse than anything else, right?
I'm glad that isn't just me though, Leanne. I think your technique of like singing or doing something which is entirely polar opposite to things that would be scary. I feel like if it wasn't against the rule of a solo walk around, I just nip down the pound and unleash just puppies and kittens into the basement. Be like, yeah, sucked in, ghosts. What are you going to do now?
Who's a good boy then? Like his big demons just with his Labrador puppy.
Like, oh, you're so. This is all we wanted. Why aren't more?
It's something I wrote down as a question to ask you before we got into the review of this film. There, Leanne, what is like the creepiest paranormal experience you have had while investigating?
Oh, okay. So this is the creepiest one that even when I'm talking about it again, I start to doubt myself, because I'm like, there's no possible way that I could have or should have seen that. So basically, we were at this is when I was with an events company, so we were putting on an event at Secunda Manor in Caldecott. This huge, I think 15th century building, used to, like, monks used to live there and stuff. Like, staircases in the building are like narrow floor to ceiling brick kind of thing, stone. It's just very ominous feeling when you go into this building. And we had about 15 guests with us, and we ended up going up into the attic room. We stood in a circle holding hands, and someone on the other side of the circle goes, "Oh, I can smell poo," like the nicest word, like, you know, the other word they said. And then everyone started laughing, and then someone's like, "Oh, who farted?" Blah, 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 blah. And then the person next to them was like, "No, I can smell it now." And then the person was like, "No, I can smell it now." But then the two at the beginning couldn't smell it anymore. And then this smell of feces worked its way around this circle, and every single person in the circle smelt it. And like, when it got to me, I was like, no, that is unmistakably a smell of someone that has crapped their pants. Like, it was foul. And there was this story that there was quite a nasty male spirit in this building. And so everyone kept on calling this man the shitty man. So throughout the night, you know, if that smell came around, they'd start going, "Oh," you know, like mocking him. Yeah, he wasn't happy with us. Throughout the night, there was a woman called Sarah in the group who kept on saying, "Oh, I feel really angry and I feel really emotional, but I don't know where this feeling is coming from." And one of the other guests, this gentleman, he came up to me and my teammate in the break and said, "Oh, hi, I'm a psychic medium. I can tell that this nasty male spirit is attaching itself to Sarah." So he said, "If at the end of the night you want me to cleanse her or get rid of this energy, I will." And we were like, "Yeah, that'd be great, thanks." Later on that night, we go up to this open hallway, and one of my teammates says, "Who wants to do an Ouija board?" So this girl, Sarah, goes, yeah, I'll do it. And someone else goes, "Yeah, I'll do it with you." So I'm stood against this wall, and there's a table in front of me, and Sarah and this other girl are doing this Ouija board. And then my teammate, Anita, was stood up with a torch, holding it down so that you could see what they were doing on the Ouija board. And everyone else was stood around this room in like a circle. I'm stood there just watching, you know, the board and everything. Sarah's probably maybe 2 meters away from me. All of a sudden, this smell comes back into the room again, this strong feces smell. One of the guests to the left of me that's behind me goes, "Oi, shitty man, what are you doing here?" like that. And everyone started laughing, and we all went, "Ha," like that. As I laughed, I clocked eyes on Sarah, who all of a sudden, who's had, like, she was on the board like this. And I looked over at Sarah, and and her face changed into an old man. So I'm think about Vigo from Ghostbusters, that scowling face. She just looked at me like this. Her eyes were almost like black and piercing, and she looked into my soul. And if somebody was going to say, "I'm going to kill you," with their eyes, that is what I felt. And I just was like, like that. And I grabbed my teammate's arm next to me, and she said to me, "Do you see her face? Do you see her face?" And I was like, "I see her face." And we both witnessed this girl's face change into an old haggard man. And within seconds, her face just went back to normal again, and she just looked down at the board. And
Did she have like any recollection of looking at you in that way?
No, we spoke to her after, and we were like, "Did you remember anything on the board?" She's like, "No, like I don't, that was terrifying to me, because if it was just me that witnessed it, by now I would have gone, oh, I imagine things. But it was the fact that someone next to me saw exactly the same thing. And that was terrifying, because that was looking evil directly in the eyes. And at that point, I was like, do I want to do this anymore? Is it worth it? And,
did it change how much you laughed at people calling him the shitty man?
Yeah, I was like, I'm not mocking anyone, and since then, that's the thing, like this whole like mocking spirits to get a reaction. Oh, come on, you think you're strong enough? Oh, you can't even push that door over there. And that's what people do. They provoke to get a reaction. Oh, I bet you couldn't do that.
You bloody whip.
Yeah, go on then.
There he is then. Oh, shitty pants.
Yeah.
Shitty stinky pants is here again.
Yeah.
Oh, God. That,
so, yeah.
genuinely,
if you're a ghost, it would send you, it'd make you defensive though, wouldn't it? It'd be like, if you walked into a ghost and went, oh, poor, it's like a wanker's nightmare in here. What have you been doing?
Also, like we've mentioned before, like at what stage of death, like when you die, if you're in your pajamas, or you're in your pajamas for the rest of the time. If you die and you've shit your pants, is that it for life? For the afterlife? Sorry, if you just walking around smelling like shit for the rest.
It's the worst. It's the worst. It's like, because also maybe it's because we're accustomed to it, and you only really smell it if you've had an accident. I think human shit is one of the worst kinds, probably with our modern diets. In a quick aside to a different type of real life horrors from Leanne's traumatic experience to one of our own, we were out for a dog walk once, and Ricky disappeared out into the bushes and had clearly found where someone had been camping out, and then he came back smacking his lips, having clearly been eating human shit. We were several miles away from home, and Karen made me walk home with him because she couldn't face him coming back into the car, because he kept running away. He kept running away to eat more and more and more, and he absolutely reeked. He'd been rolling it. I had to like very gingerly like put him back on his lead, and then walk him home a couple of miles so he can then be hosed off in the garden.
I feel like both of those stories have affected
disgusting little dog.
both of those stories have affected me greatly in two different, very, very different ways. I generally got like goosebumps when you said the old man face.
Yeah,
it's
So that's a brilliant story, but I'm sure for you it isn't brilliant. It's a horrible thing that happened. But that's truly
Vigo
terrifying.
from Ghost. I was terrified of Vigo as well.
Yeah, that scowl.
Tell you what, Leanne. I mean, we've been conjuring the spirit of Danny Robbins from BBC. I'll hear you on season 3 with stories like that. That's an amazing story.
Yeah,
if you're listening, Danny, and I'm sure you like to stay across your medium. Get Leanne on, please.
Leanne, talk about old shitty pants ghost. So what did we get to? We're talking about Hell House.
So the whole reason we're able to see these videos is we've had some of the talking heads, and we had that bit where the photographer who kicked off after it wasn't explained very well. A photographer had gone into the house, and this is the person that took the photos and said, I didn't want to go down into the basement, and we zoom in on just some kind of drag hand marks that are on the way at the bottom of those basement stairs.
He makes a point that he's been in some horrible places and some terrifying places, but this was like the only place where he was like, nope, not going down there.
Big nope.
And then we meet a survivor, someone who has been away, and they haven't talked about it ever since. So we meet Sarah. And we see her. She's come in for an interview as part of this documentary, and she hands over, you mentioned it then, this bag of videotapes, and basically says, I got to these before the police did. They've been with me this whole time. I haven't watched them. Here they are. Which brings us into what is the largest portion of the film, which is purely just the found footage element as presented in this documentary.
So they go, Mitchell, go off and watch these tapes. That's his job, right? That's his job, to watch all these tapes. Who knows how long they're going to be? Who knows how many hours of footage he had to like go through until he found anything juicy? He had
Because
to
cameraman
watch.
Paul is this group's bears effectively. He doesn't seem to have an effective job, but just is following, hanging around with them, videoing everything.
But also, like, if he is filming it so that everybody can watch it back, why is he filming Sarah in her pants? I'm thinking that he's gonna get away
zoomed
with that.
in as well.
Yeah. And
He
does
did
like a
zoom in.
video diary as well, saying like, I want his first video diary is like,
Yeah.
geez, only one bloody woman here, and Alex doesn't like sharing, if you know what I mean. Like, it's normal that you would.
I know.
Also, I'm assuming he's got like a phone, or he can go out somewhere and meet people. Why is he acting like they're all just like locked in the Big Brother
Like
house?
he has to be there, yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
and also
basically,
it's out of New York City, but there are other people around there. There is like a local.
Yeah.
It is a town.
he's one who's acting like, if you're in a situation where you're staying in a house with someone of the opposite sex, you've got to sleep with them. That's the rules. That's the rules. Hang on a minute. What's wrong with you? Are you all right? Yeah, he's definitely a wrong one. And then as time goes on, this is the thing: him talking to camera and kind of like saying these things, but also like, yeah, when they interview some of the actors a little bit later, he's just a bit. What would you say? Just problematic, a bit.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, she seems to like laugh it off, but no, it's not good, is it?
Yeah. He's like everyone's least favorite uncle to be at a barbecue. He says the things that like there's suggestive and flirty jokes you can make, and I think this guy is written to be like, oh god,
Yeah.
you're almost to the point where you're the antagonist of the film, where like there's not even a subtlety, like, you know, it's not like oh hey, I've met this when we meet the actors in a little while. It's not like, oh hey, I'll show you around the thing, wink to camera, I know what I mean, I'm going to try and chat her up. It's literally so you'll be getting your boobs out, right?
Yeah.
Listen, Paul.
Yeah, it was just the fact, does anyone call him out? I think they did, and a couple of the guys go like, but they kind of treat it like, oh Paul,
Paul.
in an of the time way. It's of whatever year this is meant to be set in, like a 2008 way, not this day and age. No allies in this.
It was before Me Too.
Yeah, it's definitely like,
sure was.
Oh, don't bother, Paul. That's a bit embarrassing. You know, a bit like if he's your mate at school who keeps nicking your ruler or something. Oh, stop it! You're gonna break that. Mom's just got us that. It's not like, no. It's probably like not. Paul... You're probably making our actors quite uncomfortable with your general perviness.
Yeah, definite perv.
So there's bad bloke Paul, and then there's Alex the Moneyman, who is like he's found this location, right? He's found Hell House. Well, no, he's found the place with a new Hell House.
Mm-hmm.
So is it him and Sarah in a relationship, right? Is that right?
Yes, him and Sarah together.
And then there's Tony,
the electrician guy that was going on at the beginning, like, oh, I need to like have lights to do my job and stuff. So yeah.
Stop moaning, Tony, for God's sake.
You want some work? And is Mac the guy that's like, oh, everything's a pain. Fucking hell, I ain't working.
They've given him a nickname. They had to give him a nickname because his name's Andy. They couldn't have an Andy, a Tony, Paul, and Alex. It'd be like, I don't know who anyone is. So they've just gone from Mac. Sorry for calling Andy a generic name, Andy. I just realized
a lot of people have it. That's why I have a really long last name.
I've just gone, what kind of name is Andy? Ridiculous.
Fucking yeah.
Mac.
Old miserable Mac. He's got a proper grimace on his face because he's sad. McDonald's grimace, the big purple milkshake man. That's who that is. Yeah. Old grimace here is he's a right Mizgog. He's like, oh fucking hell, everything's a hassle.
Yeah,
but he wants
I
the
feel like you're in the wrong business. A lot of people in this film are in the wrong business because it feels like just the most basic of tasks everyone's probably put out by. What have I got to do? I've got to walk down this dark corridor in a haunted house. Oh God, can't be bothered. Do your job. So we start to hear, as this goes on, we start to hear a bit more about the story connected to the Abaddon Hotel, like what possibly happened in the past, why it was abandoned and everything like that. Not like loads of detail at this point, but we get like that there was possibly some people who died there. Yeah, because when they're interviewing the actors, Diane
says
some
people disappeared, right? Maybe.
Yeah. she's got no info though, right? She's one of these people who goes like, they'll say something interesting, and you go, "Oh my god, that sounds interesting. Tell me more." And they go, "I actually don't know anything about."
But then has something else.
God's
She's like,
sake!
"Oh, there's local rumors. Oh, what the local rumors? I don't know anything, but allegedly these two people who I know the names and ages of disappeared on this date and at this time. And the police arrested him, but then they didn't keep him in prison because they didn't have evidence. He had evidence that allowed him to say that they definitely left the hotel. But then he was found hanged, and there's like, but I cannot stress enough that I don't know anything about it. All right." Apart from all those details that I've just given.
For ages, I thought they said 18 something until they were like, and here's a photo of him hanged. And I was like, in the 1800s, how did he get hold of that?
Yeah.
No,
it's been closed for about 12, 15 years, right? It's been gone for a while. It's a dilapidated place, and there's bottles of wine, and there's tipped over chairs, and they find in the basement big old stack of Bibles.
And then they also talk about your favorite thing, Leanne, is when they connect. It's a bloody demon, isn't it? It's a bloody demon. They go like Abaddon is like a name. Do they say Latin or like it's something like
that? Yeah,
it's like a name of a demon that guarded the entrance of hell at one point in one set of religious texts. I forget which one.
What should we call this hotel? Anyone got any names? We're coming up with names. Coming up with some names. Anybody got anything? I've got Abaddon. It's like a demon guarding hell. That's brilliant. Write that down. Anybody else? Jesus Christ.
The Quiet Rest? No.
We're
trying to differentiate ourselves from the Premier. I cannot compete with a good night guarantee. I need to get the horror crowd in.
We need to get who does the adverts for
Lenny Henry.
He didn't put his name to just anything, Ben. He's one of the nation's treasures. Sir Lenny Henry.
Sir Lenny Henry. They do make an advert in this film as well, don't they, for the haunted house?
Yeah. They could have done with Lenny Henry for that. They just do some shit.
They do add a shit narrative to this.
Yeah.
These two zombies that are married and there's an affair while Sarah's off clearly possessed, looking at a statue across the park.
Oh yeah. She's classic case of possession. This is.
Yeah.
If you turned her around, she'd have the face of Vigo from Ghostbusters.
You have to watch out. If someone's usually quite chatty, then they go quiet for a few minutes. You've got to watch out they haven't got Vigo face.
Just go up to them and give them a sniff. They smell like shit. They've been possessed.
But don't slag them off. Just gently break it to them.
I'm joking about it. I am worried about this. This is scary. I'm gonna see if I can find a Vigo Snapchat filter or something and just take a selfie and send it to you. No, I won't.
God. But did you know though that the all of the internal shots from this movie were actually shot in a real haunted attraction in Pennsylvania?
Oh, right. Okay.
So I can't remember the name because I didn't write it down, but there is in Pennsylvania there is a proper haunted house attraction, and there's pictures going around the building of guests going around and their staff all dressed up and stuff, and it looks really creepy, but you can see where the bar scene was shot and you can see all the bits around and stuff from the film. It's really cool.
That's really interesting. I think, is it the one where there's meant to have been some murders of some gangsters? They used to use it as a speakeasy, and then there were some deaths down there as well. I think one of my colleagues, oddly enough, had a corporate event there a few weeks ago, and they were talking about the real life horrors of global mobility challenges in the current marketplace. But yeah, they went and had a really good time, and I'm in the wrong continent to go, but they are going to fill me in on the details of it. That sounds really cool. I had no idea they filmed it there.
If you want anything to be haunted, a haunted house attraction ride. I mean, what was it, like a chicken and egg scenario? What happened first? Was it haunted and then they made it into a attraction ride?
Yeah.
Or the other way around?
I think it was an abandoned. It's very similar to this film. I think it was an abandoned hotel, and then and then they turned it into this. I can't think of the name of it, but haunted house attraction. But there were real ghosts there and things as well. I looked online. I thought, they've got a paranormal convention there in a couple of weeks, I think. And I'm like, oh, and then like they've got like these events where you can go there and, you know, do all the like haunted attractions and stuff. And it's like $30. And I'm like, that's so cheap.
It's really reasonable, but sadly, one more real life horror airfare's not so cheap for us.
So yeah, just looking now. So the haunting at the Waldorf Hotel in Layton, Pennsylvania. And apparently it's run
scariest state in the US as well.
It's run by Angie Moyer, who served as the film's set designer as well. And they changed the setting. So I think they changed the setting, and then the script had to be altered as well because of that. I did get a bit confused by like the layout of the house in my head. Like I couldn't quite, even though we saw a lot of different rooms, I couldn't quite work out what was what. There was a lot of like, it felt very linear, didn't it? Rather than
they've got like a bar and a kitchen and like a toilets with like urinals and
they're obviously staying upstairs as well. But I couldn't quite work out. Obviously, there's the basement, and there's that room where there's like the piano dude, what's his name, Hector, and the room where everyone sat around tables as well. But yeah, I couldn't quite get the sort of geography of this place down. I was a bit like, couldn't really work out. Maybe that's kind of it. It's supposed to be a bit disorientating.
And they planned that like their pièce de résistance is you can have like a real flow through, right? Because there's a storm door in the basement that will be their exit effectively, right? That's going to get them back out. So they come through, you'll go forward, you'll go through the spooky house, and then that's your way out. And then they mentioned that after they've spent a couple of weeks up, they've got the electrics working and they start living there.
And and when they are talking about the sort of history of the place as well, they do say that there's like satanic symbols and stuff in the basement, and then they like, wait, was that here before? Was that here before or not? Or did you do it? Yeah, that's what the actress says, doesn't she? Yeah.
We get an idea that Alex in particular maybe knows more of the history than he's told the others.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Because he's a bit more like, okay, but he's a cynic, isn't he? Essentially, he's like, okay, I know the history, but it means nothing because I know that.
But one thing I didn't get though is that like surely that would push the ticket sales if he's talking about this happened here.
True.
Like, why was he being all like, stop talking about the hauntings at the haunted attraction? Like, dude, like, what are you doing?
I mean, if you're not going to capitalize on it, get a new build.
Yeah.
I think that's why I was kind of confused by that, and also like the fact that the police were trying to hide something as well, because I expected there to be like a huge reveal. I don't know why. I thought there was going to be like just a huge reveal about what was actually legitimately behind what happened, and I don't think we ever truly get that, do we?
Maybe it's the reactions of the police in Springwood where Freddy Krueger gets up to his murders. Like, shut up, don't talk about it, because if you don't give it the power of the oxygen of publicity, it comes in a pre-cancel culture era that this came out. So not only Paul, but also the people doing sacrifices haven't just been absolutely blacklisted and erased from history.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they're trying to do. They're just trying to keep it quiet and not engage with it. Why Alex, as Leanne pointed out, someone who's building a haunted attraction doesn't go, and actual murders come to the actual. Obviously, Alex, good at scouting locations, shit at marketing. This is why he's got a team.
So there are like some strange goings on, a couple of like noises and stuff. There's a really quite effective little sequence where Paul was talking to camera and somebody like walks in.
Yes, he thinks it's Sarah, right? This is when he's being gross to camera and saying, "Oh bloody hell, I've been noshed off for the best part of God knows how long."
It's been 3 bloody days, it has. That's
if only I could find when some more bloody women turn up, and I'll pull them instantly, and then someone walks into the room and stands there. That was creepy. That's the first bit of tension we see.
But
that's the thing. It did take quite a long time for something creepy to happen. Like, I know you had that little kind of flyby shot where it goes back and there's like a dark figure in, which I thought was quite clever. But like Sam was sat there going, God, there's a lot of dialogue, a lot of chatting, but I think that kind of added to almost the realness of it, because I hate found footage films where it's, or like it's too scripted, because real life conversations, there are lots of overlap and there are lots of in jokes that people don't, and I got that sense when they're in the bar and they're all chatting about, what happened in Queens, and the barman's like, whoa, and they're all laughing and stuff. And like, I think that whole feeling of you being sat there going, I have no idea what's going on, added to the realness of it.
That's true. That's true. But that was one thing I was going to ask you about. Like, Leanne, you just brought up the bit where they have like a little fly through and then there's like a robed character that we see. I think a different production wouldn't have done this, because we get a couple of bits where we get a little bit spooked, or in this first case with the fly past, the people operating the camera don't realize it's when they're on the way to the basement to have a look down at it the first time, and there is like a black shaped figure that we scroll past, much like in the film we all mentioned it having like a connection with Ghostwatch. Ghostwatch never draws attention to, or very only briefly draws attention to, and then pretends in a second look that it isn't there. This one, very much, we see it, and then it goes back. Like the documentary makers have gone, and if you look here, viewer, you'll see there is a scary thing. And I get it, from the contrivance of this being a documentary that's happened after the fact. They might have pulled back and showed it, but not to the point where like the narrator of the documentary comes in and says, look here, you'll find that. I don't know. Do you think that was effective as part of it being presented as a documentary, or do you think they're not giving their audience enough credit because they've built this subtle scare in there, and then they're saying, but I want to show you that I've done that. I don't want you to miss it. What do you think? Would you have got the same out of it if they hadn't drawn attention to it?
Well, did I noticed it when it panned past? I went, what was? And then it went back in slow mo.
Look at this.
Yeah, and I was kind of
zoom
like,
enhance.
I think I do start to question. Okay, if this was found footage, who was the one that slowed down and then went, oh, okay, I'm going to show it back again? Like, was it Mitchell? Was Mitchell there, like crying at the loss of his like boss? Going, I'm editing this. I need to do it for Diane. Like,
Yeah, I've got to put this out now. Actually, so, so I gave it. It was okay. This is the documentary makers that have put this down, but separating that out and away from that framing, just as a piece of entertainment. Do you guys feel that you benefited from it being called out, or would you have been? It's hard to say because it's not the way you've had it. Do you think it would have been better to just be a subtle? If you're watching closely, you'll see it. If not, then it'll pass you by.
Possibly.
Yeah, possibly. I kind of like both sides of it. I like the Ghostwatch thing, where like if you didn't really pay attention, you would never see pipes. And also like things like Haunt of Hill House, where like there's little ghosts hidden in all the tiny little crevices and corners, hundreds in that. But also like, I don't know, this side of it made it feel a bit Lake Mungo, when they like genuinely like call out the various things they see and it zooms in on it. Because some people won't necessarily pay so much attention to that, but I don't know, it gives it a certain something. It reminds me a bit of like, yes, Lake Mungo, but also like I used to love watching Strange But True when I was growing up, and like the amount of times you'd watch a piece of footage or you'd watch a like reimagining of something. What word am I thinking of for that? What Crime Watch do?
Reconstruction.
Yeah,
reconstruction of that, and then they'd like go, and then you miss this. I don't know, something about that, the matter of factness of it, like going, here's the thing that you should have seen, and now we're zooming in on it and showing you something about that, just solidifies it a little bit more, because otherwise it's a blink and you miss it kind of moment. And some people will see it, some people won't.
I might, if I was going to do it, I might have leaned into it slightly more and put more of the framing of the documentary there. Maybe I would have cut to a talking head there and gone, look at this shape. What do you think that shape is? Well, it's clearly not there. You'll see it in other, like, maybe make more of it, because it's kind of, it feels like a halfway house that it's never addressed in, it's never addressed from the documentary makers. It just like rewinds and like goes, yeah. It's still effective. I love these subtle little nods there and these early parts of them, but quickly escalate, right?
Yeah, it escalates pretty quickly, and mainly through the sources of Paul as well, isn't it? Because he's the one who's
Yeah, Paul. So Paul's done some fun asides. He's done the bit with Hector, the dummy that's sitting on the piano, where we hear him basically play a little bit of music with him, and then we've seen them build the clowns when they talk about they've got these clowns. They go, oh, it's a shame because their heads don't move. They're all going to be looking in the same direction, but what can you do? You've got to deal with the production that you have. And then it's, I guess, about this point, I'm not sure if it's before or after we meet the actors, but at some point around the sort of midpoint of the film, we have this bit where quite a lot of the guys have gone out. There's just a few of them in the house. So I think Alex and Sarah have gone out to get some stuff from town. And our Paul and the two technical guys are around there. He sees Mac and goes, where buddy is? Where's our other fella? Where is he off to? And he goes and he sees the clown that's not down in the basement. It's standing at the top of the stairs. He looks away and looks back, and its head is moved, and it's now looking at him. It's a scary bit, right? This is tense.
I mean,
I liked. Sorry, carry on.
No, go on, Leanne. Go on.
I was going to say, it's probably what you were about to say, but I like the fact that he didn't react negatively. He didn't go, oh, like that. He kind of went, all right, yeah, okay, mate, kind of thing. And it was, us as an audience were almost jumping, but him as through the eyes of Paul, he didn't react the way we did because he thought it was his friend. And it wasn't until he walked back and then sees them joined together that is like, well, how did you get what the fuck, I really like that because it's so easy for him to turn the camera and go and jump, but his reaction wasn't matching up to, I guess, the audience's reaction.
I think the jump scares work well because they're not like standard jump scares, especially in a found footage film like this, which has got no soundtrack essentially as well. Like we don't get that shrill like violin or big bang when there's a scare. We kind of like make of the scares what we like. The effective scares are the ones that like really resonate with us, and this moment is good because he reacts how somebody would. Like everybody is assuming that the other person is messing with them essentially, isn't it? Like you're messing with me, you've done this, you've done that. So yeah, I kind of like that the scares aren't just like things dropping into screen or like turning and seeing stuff. It's kind of like they feel a bit more organic, I guess, the scares, don't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, old creepy clown face with his leaky clown eyes.
Yeah.
I'd be, so the neck doesn't move, but I'd be like, can you stand it up like that? Is it posable like that? Because they're mostly always sat down, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Do they stand and sit down?
I guess they do, yeah. It's it's a little bit, it's definitely creepy. It's effective because then when he goes back to see like that, obviously it's gone, and
it's gone. It's down in the basement again, right? It's just put away.
Yeah.
Imagine loads of demons just off camera. Yeah, fucking got him. Put this back.
It's almost similar. It's similar to like when Batman vanishes off screen, or the Batman movies, where they turn around and he's gone. So literally, as soon as you look away from the mannequin, it's legs.
Yeah.
Better get back.
It's like that bit in the Resident Evil stuff, Ben, with those horrible mannequins that come after you when you're not looking.
Yeah, well, it's like that. What's the Doctor Who episode with the
Don't Blink one, right?
Yeah, I mean that is creepy. The fact that something would move, and that makes it more effective. Because if you just saw it moving, I think you'd be more like, okay, I kind of know what I'm dealing with here. But yeah, something about that is genuinely quite scary.
Tell you what you want in this one. I know this one's, we've got a bit of an excuse because the electrics are funny in this house, but they have got them working. Said the same in Insidious, but put the bloody big lights on.
Yeah,
why have they got that red light? And why is the light red in the hallway?
Yeah.
They've got to be some like actual lights so that they can actually do work in the house. So just for God's sake, put the big light on. I don't care about the lecky bill. Get the big lights on in every single room.
Yeah, but market that this is a haunted house to make more of a profit on this and run your lights. Also, wasn't an energy crisis back then. They're all right.
They're fine. They're absolutely fine. So yeah, in terms of the scare sort of like dying up, you obviously get that happening. And not long after that is when Paul goes a bit well, I was going to say goes missing and then goes a bit strange, but we kind of see exactly what happens. I'm assuming never at any point did they think maybe we should watch back the footage to see if anything's happened to Paul while he was missing, for example.
You would have thought
Yeah.
that when he goes missing, you would think maybe he's, because they assume he's fucked off. You would check the video, right, in case you would see the last thing he'd filmed in case he'd done one of his nightly diary entries where he goes, fucking suck shit, you lot, I'm off.
Or when he goes, diary entry number 45, Sarah in her pants again. I've got to talk about this, all right? It's just, God damn it, Paul.
I'm going to film this every day until I've seen a different pair, because this is, I mean, the same one twice. He's like, I've got to get the whole set. It's like Pokemon cards. He's trying to get the whole cross section of all the different types of underwear he can record her in. And between this, we've also met the actors who these are the ones that gave us some more of this background. We've heard there's the main one who's going to be the girl down in the basement. There's a guy who just seems a really nice, normal man.
Well, I will get to this. Why does the woman in the basement need to, for some reason, have like her dress just like, cut all the way up?
I know, especially if it's a button up top. Just undo them if you're going to be like that.
And the fact that they were like, oh, don't worry, Joey's got the keys to your handcuffs. It's like, you would never put her in real handcuffs because that is a complete health and safety hazard.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
That would never pass.
Then what if you're in handcuffs?
This is a limited liabilities company. Maybe their limited liability is that
they are a liability.
We're not insured.
What if some of the punters might start grabbing at her or something as well?
Well, that's why they've got
to be able to just go.
That's why they've got that surly bloke. Well, he's not a surly bloke. It just seems like a jolly chap.
Yeah, with the eyeball trick.
Oh, yeah. Do you reckon that actor got that job because he could do that with his eye?
Yeah, I read actually. I was reading trivia online, and it said that he could actually do that.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah,
he's like the Guinness Book of Records woman that can open her eyes real wide and make her eyes pop out like a Ghostbusters toy.
Oh.
Yeah, that's probably the only. Bless him. Don't want to throw him under the bus. Probably the only interesting thing about him, because I don't think he barely says a word in this film, does he?
I feel like this man. I don't think he necessarily he does the eyeball thing, which is beyond anything I can do. But I feel otherwise he may not be an actor, because it feels like they've just turned the camera around. I mean, which is great for a found footage movie.
Yeah.
He just strikes you as a normal man who occasionally comes into shot, looks a bit uncomfortable that someone's pointing the camera at him, and he's sort of like, hey,
yeah,
hey. Go and put your clown outfit on.
Right.
So yeah, with the whole Paul scenario, he just wakes up in the night or in the morning, and
he wakes up with a start, and I think he's had the other scares. He's had other times where he's gone up and the clown's been moving about again as usual. But then one night, he's done his little video where he's gone. He's more serious than usual. He says, "Oh, we've got no business being here. Actually, this is awful, and we open in a week. But I bloody hate this. It's thingy." And Sarah always looks good, mostly in her pants, but she actually looks shit at the minute, because she's knackered out. And then he says, "Oh well, off to sleep."
Is that what he says? Is that what he says?
It's just, "Oh, she looks real bad, but she always looks good." So
yeah.
This is it must be really bad. And
he's basing how bad the scenario is based on how much he fancies Sarah.
Yeah,
he's I proper fancy her. I'm feeling great. He doesn't fancy her as much. He's like, this is real bad here.
I think she's having the shittest I've ever seen her. I don't think we've got any business being here anymore. And this is after they were filming an advert for the Hell House.
What was the statue of? Just like a Virgin Mary statue.
Yeah.
Just like a standard park angel, right? And she's there.
Because this whole scene with Paul was after the flashing lights bit in the basement, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
How many creepies have we got?
Yeah, that was amazing. That was really creepy, because it was that flashing of the strobe lighting, and you were there even saying to yourself, hold on, was that there just then, or was that, and you're questioning yourself. And then when he runs out and throws up, apparently that was genuine, and the actor really threw up.
Oh, what? Because the flashing lights or something? Or
I don't know why. I don't know whether they didn't tell the actors what they were going to do, or kind of what happened. But yeah, they said again, trivia, that actor actually threw up. And that wasn't yeah.
And the director
I'm
jumps
loving
up and is like, brilliant!
Yeah.
I'm
Just
loving
do it
all
one
the
more
trivia,
time because the
Leanne.
light wasn't quite right. So if you could just throw up again.
Trivia was something that we used to make that a big part of the show when we first started the podcast. Not so much anymore. So appreciative for you bringing some along, because that's very interesting.
Should really
Definitely.
do a little bit more work on that front, Ben. I really should pick up my game. But it's very appreciated when good folks like Leanne come and bring
we
it
both
to
should.
us.
We both should. Yeah. So this bit in the room. So he like wakes up and there's just like a creepy woman with scary eyes.
I
just
couldn't tell
sat
if this
there.
was Sarah at first or not.
So I couldn't tell if it was Sarah, and I also couldn't tell whether it was just like a mannequin initially.
Yeah.
Until
Is this supposed to be the mum or daughter that went missing? Because they said about the story about a mum and an 11-year-old daughter went missing, and the hotel owner, so and so Tully, was blamed or whatever. Is that ghost supposed to be, or that person?
I couldn't really tell what the age of this person was supposed to be.
No.
I mean, it could have been a kid, could have been a woman. I don't know.
See, I eventually thought it was Sarah.
You did?
Yeah, I just took it as, I mean, all white folk look the same in this film at the very least.
She was possessed. Like she was possessed.
Yeah,
you're thinking that she'd gone fully possessed. Yeah, maybe. But he does the classic. I'm just going to hide under the blankets till she goes away. Which we've all been when we see a pile of clothes in the corner of the room and we wake up in the middle of the night and we go, that is definitely a demon. That is definitely that's a night terror waiting to happen. But unfortunately, it doesn't work this time, because when he comes out of the blankets, it's closer.
She's a bit closer.
And and we know when things are going genuinely bad in found footage films, when the camera glitches out, that we know something bad's happened. So he essentially
Paul could have got away with that one. He was under a sheet. He could have blended
got
in
his
with the
girl.
ghost and walked out. Yeah.
He's been there sending out to the universe. Oh, I need a girl. I'm all a bit lonely here. She turns up, starts getting closer to him, and he's like under the blanket, like,
yeah, that's it. Really, it's one of those things.
That's the perfect
talks
example.
a big game. All buddy mouth, no trousers, isn't it?
What are you doing in there, Paul? Yeah.
You could have sneaked out as a ghost though while he's under a sheet. You could have just walked around the house going, ooh, and then he got outside. Oh, all right. Clocking up late, are you? We've been up at this for hours. And he's like, ooh, and then he could just nipped out, got away.
So Paul like vanishes essentially, and that is when is it Mac who goes or is it Tone? Who knows?
Yeah,
Mac
goes,
got the camera. Oh, he's disappeared. But I'm going to carry on doing his camera work because if anything, we need to commit to this.
It's what he'd want. It's what he'd want.
It's what he would have wanted.
And even though we fucking hate him and we're slagging him off the second he's disappeared. Oh, disappeared.
On the camera as well. This footage Paul's going to edit. So not only has it got Sarah in her pants, it's now got them slagging him off as well.
Can you imagine if he came back and said, "Oh, so sorry that my nan had been rushed to hospital, so I had to chip off. Sorry, I didn't have I left a video message though. I didn't want to wake you. And did you watch back? Oh no,
check it.
We'll just delete the last couple of days just because they've been like literally the second you've got it. Fucking Paul, piece of work, absolute fucking loose unit here.
But then they do find him like a little while later, just in the basement, sat chilling. And I think they do the classic, like, what do they say to him? They go, come on, Paul, stop mucking about. Skiving off down here, are you?
This is after another good scare though. So Mac and Tony go down to the basement, and all the clowns look around. They hide in a cupboard for a little bit. And this is a good maybe have you been in a situation where you've got someone who avidly believes that this is paranormal and scary, and then someone else who, by their admission, is a skeptic, they don't believe in ghosts and spirits, that has gone, no, it's scary, but we're fine. Take a deep breath and we're going to step out here in a minute. 1, 2, 3, off you pop.
Yeah.
Have you been in situations like that?
Where all the time. I've been in situations where, getting a Ouija board out, and one of the women sat around the Ouija board is so desperate to have a personal message, and it's like, Nan, are you here? How's Uncle Ben? Is he all right? And it's going, yes. And you're there.
The rice guy. The rice guy.
Spider-Man's uncle.
How's Uncle Ben? I think it's just called Ben's Rice now. And it was called that. They changed it recently. Go ahead.
It's just, and And you're sat there going, oh, come on, like it starts to become that they're so desperate for a message that they are subconsciously moving the planchette around to say what they want to kind of fulfill their need. And then like it's just, it kind of, you know, I don't.
Should I stay with Philip?
Philip's there like pushing it towards no. Like.
Oh, it seems that the spirit's in two minds. We're pushing it down.
So it's like people who are more susceptible to things are gonna like believe and almost like see and experience things just because they're so willing for it to happen. Always,
like I said, it's not always just that they want to come up with something that isn't real, right? They subconsciously, without consciously, decide I'm going to move this to yes. Their hands will, you know, make those movements towards the thing they desperately want to happen, right?
Yeah, it's called the idiometer effect. It's a subconscious move. It's like unconscious movements basically that your body does. So you don't you will genuinely go, I didn't move that, but it's such a small movement. But I've been on investigations with some fantastic psychic mediums, and you know, and some of the best psychic mediums I've been on investigations with will say, there's nothing here. You know, they're not about fabricating anything. So they will happily say on an event, no, I'm not sensing anything, you know? So I appreciate those people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good enough.
That's good. But this is a real... Mac is there and he is, he's not sensing anything. He's just sensing that he's been stuck in a bloody cupboard with Tony rabbiting on. And he's like, right, we're going to go out there. And they get out there. Tony's quite frustrated because the clowns are looking the right way. And he goes, no, I'll show you the video. And I will give them credit for this. They do have bits where they rewind the video and look back at what's happened to show them.
Yeah.
And they, you know, and it isn't always glitched out. The things that have happened. You know, the clown has moved.
But people are just still like, yeah, but you know.
It's something else we just can't explain in a minute. And this is where, like Ben says, they find Paul. Strikes me here that he's just in his socks, but is sitting on his shoes.
What?
His shoes are there. He's just sat on them.
I did not notice that.
Has he done that thing where he's taken his shoes off, put his shoes where his knees are, and then pretended to be like a little 3 foot tall?
No, he sat legs out, but he sat on his shoes. Maybe the actor was like, oh, don't want to get piles sitting on this cold stone floor. Sit on my trainers.
Yeah, well, it might happen. But yeah, so essentially he's like mute now, isn't he? Like he's alive, he's breathing, but he's mute. Who knows? He
does a bit of a Vigo face at some of the guys.
I was gonna say everyone actually prefers this version of Paul. They're just like, yeah, just
100%.
He's not perving on any of the women now.
Yeah.
Everyone feels just a little bit more comfortable with themselves.
I mean, does he still operate the camera at all? Has he just become like a mute? Oldest camera, Paul.
He don't even he hates cameras now. He's dead against them. He's like,
he does look a bit scowly now.
He is silent and he's constantly in bed. You know.
Yeah.
Which I feel like he just wanted an excuse to
some of our bloody no bloody change, is it? Doing less than ever.
Change, mate.
Maybe he just like heard them slagging him off. So he's giving them the silent treatment. Like...
That would make more sense.
I had a real dicky tummy, and I went down to the local McDonald's so I wouldn't put you guys out in this dilapidated house, which I don't see evidence of a working toilet. So actually, I've just, for your convenience, I've been away, and then I walked back in, and you go in.
Slagging me off. That's true, because the only toilet we've got is just like all made up for the house.
It's got a bloody man hanging from chains over the toilet. You don't want that.
You couldn't use that in a relaxing way, could you?
No.
I mean, what would
absolutely
you do?
Couldn't. So Paul's gone, actually, I left to be considerate, and I walked back to where you all slagging me off, and it'd be one of those things where like they're slagging him off and they standing behind them and you're like, how long have you been there? There's only one answer to that in a true soap opera style. Long enough. Then you storm off.
I actually heard everything, yeah. So they pretty much just decide to go ahead and open for the night, don't they? And then we see some footage of like the queue, and then we see it from both point of views, because obviously we saw the start with the YouTube video.
We chop between YouTube and the YouTube and the head cam now, don't we?
Yeah. So obviously the guy's got the head cam. Everything's going wrong. Walkie talkies aren't working. Terrible luck. And yeah, we kind of. But to be fair, this time around, we don't even necessarily see loads more, really, do we? We see some extra bits, but we don't see loads more. I thought we were going to get
a bit more in the basement,
reveal.
right? Because we've had our lead actor that's down in the basement. We see the clown man run out, and now we know that it's a man in a clown outfit. He's losing it and running out there. And then we see our lead actress who was handcuffed up going, bloody let us out. And then there's there's some robed figures that are approaching them. And the leader is, I assume it's the hotel owner, but he's dressed as Count Orlok. He's like a big bald man. And he encroaches on people slowly.
Yeah. Yeah. Big bold man. That was kind of weird.
You're not getting this effect because it's very frenetic, it's very active, it's hard in a found footage movie to see it, and the energy behind it, and all of a sudden this screaming. We've had a good couple of scenes where all of a sudden you get a high energy bit and things are where you didn't expect them to be, and it's effectively done. I think I should definitely say that you don't get the effect from us describing it here, but there's a lot going on. People are screaming and shouting, and there's loads of random people running through there. And then you see quite a desperate effect where I guess loads of people compiling out. Are they attacking each other and eating them, or is that?
I don't know. I think it's just that they all experience that terror at the same time because these hooded figures are coming towards them. So they're all trying to get out and scrambling as people are still trying to get down. Because I guess in that environment as well, everyone is screaming. So it's trying to differentiate between the screaming, genuine fear screaming, get out, get out, get out. And also this woman's there hanging up going, let me out, let me out. And you're like, oh, you're a really good actress. I really believed you.
Yeah, because is that what she's saying? This isn't part of the show. This isn't part of the show.
Yeah.
But then I couldn't quite gauge what was actually even happening. Where she was saying this isn't part of the show.
Yeah. So this is where there's the hooded figures around in the basement, and then there's one with a hood down and a spooky
face.
Yeah, I couldn't really gather what the face was. Was it a mangled face? It was just a pale face, like a lurch.
Yeah, Uncle Fester, kind of lurch. Yeah, that
bloody Vigo all over again, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think what I felt when I was watching it, it was that. Because obviously you're getting that point of view, aren't you? Because the camera is you're seeing it through the eyes of someone, and it's very claustrophobic. Because I feel like I'm down there, and I'm just I'm there going, get out, because I feel like I want to get out. But
yeah,
I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, and this sort of sunken-eyed figure is approaching on the actor. Do we see him? Does he maybe stab her in the tongue?
I think there was a part, it did look like all of her guts were hanging out.
Yeah.
It did look she looked a bit, not her best.
Not her best.
Yeah, she's looking right poorly because a stab in the tummy will come ever so sharp. And everyone's scrambling to get out. And now we go to the end where Mac with the head cam has basically ushered the people we saw in the YouTube video. We saw someone waving them out. The police are arriving. We see him kind of usher the rest of the people that filmed the YouTube thing at very least out, and then the door slams and he's back in there, right?
Yeah. So when do we sort of go back to the sort of
we have
the
one more bit
story as well?
So we go one more bit. So Matt gets locked in. He runs back and he finds Sarah, who goes up to the loft with him. We see certain things coming out. We see figures in certain bits of the room. When they stop at certain points, things come out and start walking towards them. It sort of drives them onwards until they get to the attic, where he in turn is encroached on by these figures. Sort of these robed figures. Effects wise and production wise, I will say this is perhaps one of the moments where it's a lot scarier when you don't see the things.
Yeah.
Here, where it's
I
just
think so.
black shapes, there's leggy venoms all over again, Ben. It's, when it's just sort of amorphous robed shapes at the end, I don't think you can ever create anything, certainly not with the budget this team had, to create that fear that you wanted there. I'd have almost had them be got in like a Blair Witch style. And I know the basement itself is very Blair Witchy, but I would have perhaps had them got by something they didn't see.
Yeah, I think that probably would have worked. Just like the chaos of this sort of section, I did feel a little just a tad lost in terms of like what was supposed to be happening.
It is hard to
and
keep
I think,
up.
Yeah, I just think it had a lot of potential leading up to this moment, and I don't know. I kind of felt like I still didn't feel necessarily like I was any more aware of like genuinely what was supposed to happen. Maybe that was the point, Maybe the point was
I feel like it's a good climax, but we just visually it couldn't quite pull off what they wanted to deliver with the reveal, maybe.
Yeah.
But Mac is effectively got, and then we go back to the interview with Sarah saying, "Oh, basically they didn't get me. I just went downstairs, I saw the police, and then I left." And actually, I'm tuckered out telling you all this story. I'm going to go back to my room. I'll be in 2C. And she goes, "Oh, you really should see it for yourself."
Yeah.
And then, Leanne, you talked about provoking people. The other way around this time. She goes,
"You should really see it for yourself.
Go see it for yourself.
If you had any guts."
Yeah.
Said, it's real bad to get in the permits. That's stopping you at you. So you being an absolute pussy is what's stopping you. Is that what you're telling me? And it's like,
God's sake. So I think while Mitchell is like still going through all of the footage, Diane and like
unnamed cameraman
break in and to basically see what happened, and you sort of see.
Also, didn't they break in really easy? I felt like they just literally just opened up the front door and was like, "Oh, we're in." Like there was
oh no, this door.
Have you tried pushing a bit harder? But he will. And they've broken in.
And what do they see? There's obviously that thing that's like fallen down that they kind of look at.
Sarah has said that she was in room 2C, and when they go back to the hotel that they're doing the documentary and they go, and our hotel rooms don't have numbers. What do you think this is? It's not that kind of establishment, mate. 2C. And after they've broken in, they walk through the hotel, and we see a couple of little bits. There's bits with like a broken plate, and there's like a weird picture on the wall that looks a bit like Sarah, which gave me a pause to be like, because they mentioned when they find a broken plate, and they said, "Oh, this could be Sarah's nan or something like that." Was Sarah a ghost all along?
I think so, yeah. So actually, I don't know about all along, but I think so. Obviously, we'll get to the reveal of this scene, but I think she's been a ghost since she turned up in the interview room. I think.
Yeah, I think she's definitely a ghost all that time.
Yeah. So yeah, they find on the second floor. They find a room called 2C, which is obviously where Sarah said she was going to be. Open the door, and she's there with her back to them. She loves that. Loves her back to them.
They nip in, and then the door slams. Loads of ghostly figures encroach upon them, and I imagine the unnamed cameraman has just enough time to eject the tape and throw it out of the window of the house so we could capture it for this footage.
Yeah,
that was my one big problem walking away. I was like, how did they get the last 30 seconds of footage?
That's true, yeah.
Oh yeah, there is a moment as well where Mitchell's trying to call Diane. Obviously with some level of news based on the tapes he's been reviewing, and she like goes, well, I'll ring him back. It can't be urgent. It's fine. I've only left him with one task, and maybe he's going to be updated. Maybe it could be good information. No,
it's probably just saying he's due his break.
I've been reviewing these tapes for 5 days.
Yeah, we've left at 5 a.m. I'm assuming Mitchell's pulled an all-nighter.
Where are we getting paid for this?
Because when they say they're going to break in, they're like, "Oh, it's like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
No one's going to be around." What are you doing, Diane? That's not a healthy work schedule.
No,
it's nuts.
You're filming a documentary, not live from Beirut.
Also, I'd be like, I'm just gonna wait till like, I don't know, 1 p.m. when the sun's highest in the sky, just to go in and have a look.
I also feel like even in this abandoned hotel in a tiny town, I don't reckon there's many people around there noon on a Sunday. I reckon you're fine.
Yeah.
Go whenever.
Absolutely. And then how does this reveal work when we sort of find out that Mitchell found a video of a member of the Hell House staff killing Sarah, and she's
Wasn't
been
it
dead the whole
Paul?
time.
It was Paul killing Sarah, yeah.
That's
and
right.
then the camera pans to her on the ground, or the camera drops onto the ground, and you just see the side of her just spluttering out blood.
Oh yeah, because you see.
Yeah, and then Paul slits his throat because the police had said that one of the first people they found was a guy who'd slit his own throat.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Forgive me. How on earth, if you walked into a room and found someone on the floor with their throat slit, how would you immediately make the assumption they'd done that themselves? They had, unless I guess even if they had something in their hand. Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah, just the CSI. They'll zoom and enhance on that, and they'll see what the angle of the cut was.
The other thing I'm thinking as well is that at the very beginning, there was one lone survivor, Sarah. Okay. But at the end of the film, you obviously see that Paul killed Sarah and her body's dead on the floor. So at some point, she's suddenly just gone, oh, I'm okay now, got back up, got all of these tapes and left. So, because there was no trace of her body afterwards. If she was, classified as she survived. So I'm just thinking
stayed
of the
with
logistics.
family for 3 to 6 months.
Yeah. Like not eating, just being a bit,
I guess she could have been an ethereal ghost all that time and then just walked into their hotel with a bag of videotapes. I tell you, the real hero of this piece is Mitchell, in that he preserved that reveal to the very end when he was cutting the documentary together.
Yeah.
Yeah. He knows what's effective and what's not.
And even a completely normal man, the guy who was dressed as a clown, his loose end gets tied up that, he died off camera. In fact, he was fine until recently, and he declined to be interviewed, but then was found hung.
He's only gone and been hunged. Okay, so that is Hell House LLC. Lovely cinema. So name game. Have you got any name game, Andy?
I've got some for you guys.
We'll explain how name game works, Leanne. So basically, we'll describe a movie with a synopsis very similar to Hell House LLC, but it's essentially just a play on words. Based on Andy's description, what is the title of the movie that will also sound like
a bit like Hell House LLC?
Yeah,
oh,
we'll do one, and then it will make sense.
Okay, so what's the synopsis of Hell House LLC, Ben?
An unexplained malfunction causes the death of 15 tour goers and staff on the opening night of a Halloween haunted house tour. A documentary crew travels back to the scene of the tragedy. That's a bit long, so.
Yeah. So in a documentary that tells the story of a sorcerer's apprentice, an animated rodent actually starts a business casting magic for people, having graduated from that internship.
Is it Spell Mouse?
Yes, LLC. Spell Mouse LLC.
Spell Mouse.
Yeah, after being the sorcerer's apprentice in Fantasia, Mickey Mouse graduated from working with the sorcerer and became Spell Mouse.
Wow.
LLC.
Okay.
Right.
Every time you give me an example, I always feel terrible because mine are always not good.
Go on.
But not as good as that. I don't know if you've listened to any episodes recently, Andy, where I had to do it solo, and you've had to hear my terrible attempts. Okay.
Don't do yourself down, Ben. They were hard ones to do. I liked the Fair Witch last week. Fair Witch was perfectly gettable.
It was perfectly gettable. It was. Okay, so this one slightly easier than that one. So a documentary crew turn up to after an unexplained malfunction causes the death of 15 tour goers. But it's a husband and wife duo who are doing it, and they actually hate each other while they're making this documentary.
Is it Hell Spouse LLC?
Hell Spouse LLC, correct. That is the answer.
Yeah.
Andy's a bear.
More obscure and awful. So a documentary crew working behind the scenes during the filming of Star Wars, they go round slagging off the actor inside the Darth Vader outfit, saying that he bloody stinks.
Wait a minute. Oh, the actor in the Darth Vader suit. He's Bristolian as well.
He is. You should know, Ben. Your neighbours.
Oh, shit, what's his name? Prowse.
Yes.
Smell Prowse.
Smell Prowse LLC.
Leanne, I have been doing this.
I'm so bad at this. I've been
doing this for I've been doing this for hundreds of episodes, and I feel like I know mostly how Andy's brain sometimes works. So that's why I've definitely got an advantage on this.
I sit here on the days of recording, like thinking of words, like trying to make sure when you're about to name your kid and making sure no one will make fun of them because their name rhymes with farts or something like that. I sit there going like, spell mouse, smell mouse.
Okay, my next one is, while Mitchell is editing together this documentary about about an unexplained malfunction causing the death of 15 people, about haunted Halloween house tour, he loses his temper at the effectiveness of his computer device, which allows him to point his cursor at various parts on the timeline while he's editing the movie. He loses his temper.
It's something mouse.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Is it a hell mouse?
Nearly. He's lost his temper now. He's even swearing. How rude.
Fucking hell mouse.
Fucking hell mouse. Work a little bit better, for God's sake.
Very good.
Any more, Andy?
Yeah, I got one. So actually, after a terrible incident where loads of their staff and visitors were killed at a haunted Halloween attraction, Alex, having survived the event, restarts a new business where he's very focused on health and safety, and makes an absolute fortune going around churches where they've been yanking those ropes too hard and making the musical instrument / alarm thing that they have at the top of the church too bloody hot. So Alex goes around just wazzing water over them to cool them down. What's the name of his company?
Bell.
Bell
Douse.
Very good. Bell Douse LLC.
Yes! You got one.
Amazing.
Bell Douse. Oh, but the alarm, the church alarm. Hang on a minute. That alarm's deafening me. The bell, there you go.
It's getting too hot. The tower's going to catch fire. Don't worry, everybody. You need the services of Bell Douse LLC. Alex is shit at marketing, though. Bollocks. How's he going to get the word out?
Don't tell anyone.
Is that it, Andy?
I've got two more if you want, Ben.
Jesus Christ. Okay, go on.
Okay, so knowing that there are very many names for this insect around the world, Ben, some including grandfather, sorry, in-joke there, but this particular version of this creature lives down little pits that you keep water in and get it out with a bucket. And they investigate it in a documentary.
Well louse.
The well louse, very good.
Very good.
Apparently there's lots of names for woodlice.
Leanne, what do you call a woodlouse? Have you got, what would you call
woodlouse?
A little
Woodlouse.
Woodlouse.
Yeah.
Have you got a little nickname for it?
No, woodlouse. Just
not
woodlouse.
Grandfather, which apparently it's called in some cultures.
Some people call it a grandfather. Some people call it what's it called? A chucky pig.
Chucky pig. I've heard that, which no.
A monkey pea or something like that.
Yeah, pill bug.
No, woodlouse. Just a
woodlouse. Standard.
Just that one name that everyone in the world uses.
Yeah.
Have you got one more, Andy?
One more. So, a documentary crew not wanting to upset everybody with harrowing video footage of a group of people losing their lives in a haunted house attraction. Instead, make a documentary about just a brilliant game bird that lives in the UK and has a brand of whiskey named after it.
Grouse.
Yeah, what
Bell
grouse is it?
grouse.
It's really good. It's brilliant. It's a really nice guy to hang around with, but
Swell grouse.
a swell grouse. Very good.
Yes.
There you go.
If we carried on doing these all night, I feel like you're just going to get every single one before me now. Sometimes you need a couple
Practice,
just to get you into the swing of things. Good work, Andy. 5 out of 5.
Well, you know, you're knocking them out. They're like, yes, Nell Nouse.
Well done. So now we've got to rate the movie from A to F. Pluses and minuses are allowed. Leanne, what would you like to rate House LLC?
B+.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Standard. Any reasoning behind that?
Possibly, like you mentioned earlier, the need to carry that camera everywhere kind of doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't match up really. There's points in the film which you wouldn't have woken up instantly and got the camera up, and like you said, when Paul goes missing, you don't go in the room and then just pick the camera up. I don't know, there was just things like that now that you've pointed that out. But I think the scares were fantastic, really well done. I felt like I was in the film. It was very claustrophobic. Yeah, and they kept a little bit of kind of made you with the plot and stuff, like who are the people in the robes, and how is it haunted, what did they really do in the basement. They didn't give all that away. My brain's a bit dead at the moment, so I'm trying to think of the word.
Kept some mystery.
Yeah, that's the word. Yeah,
just that's nice. Yeah, you don't need to have everything. We've learned that from recent Aliens movies. Like, let us have a bit of mystery.
I think, sorry, jumping in there, Andy. I think I'll probably go for just a C+ on this one. I might feel differently if I watch it again, or maybe if I watch some of the sequels, see how they sort of add to the mythos surrounding it. I thought it was a good found footage horror film. I found a lot of the characters a bit annoying, and I know that shouldn't affect the film massively. But yeah, some of the scares were really well done. I just kind of think that final 20 minutes, maybe 15-20 minutes, I kind of got a bit lost, and perhaps it didn't go in a direction that I wanted it to. I think the setup was great, and in terms of a concept, I think it's great, and the setup is great. And some of the scares were really well done. I just think that the final 20 minutes I was left a little bit disappointed by. But I like the framing of it, like as a documentary as well. What do you think, Andy?
I think I'm with you, Ben. I'm going a C+ on this one. I think some really cool set pieces. I really like what they did with the clowns. I really liked some of the subtle little visual cues you have in there as it builds up that tension. I quite like the sort of frantic nature at the end. I think the bits that hold it back from higher ratings from me are maybe just some of those little bits where I think it would be possible to come up with a contrivance as to how you got that last bit of footage, or maybe the cameraman is the person that's okay, he gets shut out of the room, or something like that. I think you could have just tweaked it ever so slightly just to hit those parts, just so pedants like me can't get away with, how did that work? I think they could have genuinely benefited from a little bit more diversity, just so it's easy to look at the characters apart. And I get it, it's a small budget, maybe these are people but give someone a bit of a different look, maybe, make one of them a goth or into something else, you know what I mean? Like, do something just so they stand out a little bit more visually or in terms of personality. I think that would have gone a long way. But for a low budget bit of found footage, there are some incredibly effective little bits here. I think genuinely some of those bits with the clowns and some of the tension that they build up, like when they wake up and the clown is just in the middle of the thing and they're trying to carry it back down the stairs and then are running around, some really brilliant tension. So and the bit when the piano's playing, we didn't even touch on that, and they go back and it's a bit and it's a really neat job of showing things out of context early in the film and then bringing it back later. Some really good bits, but I think it's just let down when it's forced to show us more as well. So when we do see the robed figures at the end, I think they can never hold up to how scary they are in theory to when we finally get to see them. But still, C's get degrees, Ben. So it's a really solid found footage movie. Maybe not overtaking the absolute champions of the genre like Blair Witch, but still good, enjoyable. I'm glad Leanne gave us a reason to watch it.
Yeah, most
Anytime.
definitely. There we go. Okay, so that was House LLC. Thanks so much for joining us. Leanne, where can our listeners find more from you online?
So on Twitter, it's ghostess_Leanne, or at UK Parasoc, which is the UK Paranormal Society's Twitter account. And I think on Instagram it's also ghostess with the mostess. So that's where you can find me.
I'll put those links in the show notes as well. Thanks everybody for listening. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks to our current patrons, including John Crinnan, Ben Scaife, Stephen Christopher, Toby Miller, Scott Rigby, Lane Spencer, Ollie Child, Leslie Carlo, Julia Bilgren, Nick Spill, Troy Birch, Rosalind Harnias, and Pazuzu. Thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating or review. Head over to the Facebook group Horror Hangout Board of Advisors for more. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, all over the place. Just search Horror Hangout Podcast. You'll find us. Next week is we're starting July episodes, and to be confirmed currently. It's not decided exactly what films we're going to cover. However, we will be announcing that.
What's the socials the next few days, everybody? We're on the cusp of deciding.
We are on the cusp. But yeah, thanks again, Leanne. That was a lot of fun.
Had a really good time.
Loved the trivia. Loved all the paranormal investigating stuff. Looking forward to checking out more as well of that. Awesome. Thanks,
I look
everybody.
forward to your inevitable appearance on Uncanny, Leanne.
Yes. One day.
So thanks a lot. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you next week.
Bye for now, everybody.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.